seek him with your whole heart. It's so hard to stay consistent through the word I'm reading. Cause the time is coming soon when every eye gon' see him in the clouds above. This is about a love that quenches the thirst, but the world offers is not enough. Taste and see from this fountain spring, you'll be lining up to get a drink, refreshing ink flowing out of cups. This life they gotta touch, you liberate them out of cuffs. The faith is undivided trust, created us up out of dust. He's worthy, a fresh well of living water for the thirsty. Give her honor the first thing that I do when I'm waking up. It's everlasting life to all who decide, yeah, to drink it up.
Like water when I'm thirsty. Drink. You're like water when I'm thirsty. Drink. Like water when I'm thirsty. Drink. You're like water when I'm thirsty. Drink. Been a hard weekend, it left me high and dry. I've been going through the ringer, I need you in my life. Times seem crazy, I'm stranded in the desert. This life gets so hot, I need a sip of you, God. Cause you're like water when I'm thirsty, yeah. Drink, drink. You're like water when I'm thirsty. Drink, drink. Ooh. It's warm down here. It's hard to breathe. It's burning my eyes, Lord. So hard to see. I'm quite parched now. I need
a PhD paper, an academic paper.
Are we live?
No, not yet.
He wrote it for
faces, but not.
Go to the.
Hold on.
He's a geneticist. That's what he does.
Okay.
If you have a book,
There
I'd
we
like
go.
to see that.
We're on.
Oh.
Warm before I begin? No.
There's a small delay then, so don't listen for it there. Just check to see if the thing is bouncing up. And we're gonna start.
So we have
So
other
I
feeds?
watch one feed. Then watch some other feed.
Oh, so you can know what's going on.
I should watch it.
All right, we should be good now. I'm gonna start again.
I'll watch it.
Tin. All right. Welcome to Water for the Thirsty again. My name is Jared. I am your host. Water for the Thirsty, where the word simply, the word refreshing. With us is our full regular cast: Shonice, Sharika, Randy, and Kenrick, who is back with us from vacation. Also with us today, special guest Daniel Dawson. Probably should have been on the first one, but he had schedule conflicts. Thanks, Sheila, for letting Daniel come. No, but Daniel has been with us from the very beginning when we first started doing this thing at our church. And so we thought it would be good to have him to share some stuff with us, to bring one of his list of questions that kind of boggle our minds and force us to dig a little deeper. He has a book bag of
Why you
questions.
mad about that?
Thanks,
He's
Daniel, for
studying.
being with us.
We ain't studying. He's studying.
Wow.
Oh, that's not a real
That's how
question.
you know if we
No,
have
it's not a real
some-
question. No, I just know we're live. Someone's watching us. Talk about
That's all right.
what we're talking about right now.
What's the? Let's do this.
Y'all should text Randy if y'all have any questions.
So I'm glad you don't have my number. Right, I knew you were gonna put it right.
All right. My apologies, technical difficulties. I think we have it now. Can y'all hear me? And if you
Yeah,
can
we
hear
have
me, holler in the chat room. Oh, there's nobody.
I'm gonna have to turn that up.
Holler in the chat room. Let me know if we're good.
I got somebody in 1 second.
Good to go.
Yep, we're good.
All right.
All right.
Welcome to Water for the
Denise,
Thirsty.
Sharika, Randy, Kendrick, Daniel.
No, I have to start over because when I cut to edit, I need a starting point.
Okay.
And
Wow,
they're not actually the people watching on YouTube not gonna get all of these mistakes. I'm gonna cut it out. But now they're getting it.
But now again, yeah.
But now they're getting
Now
it.
everybody's getting it.
So now you know where you're starting from.
Yeah.
This is the most organic Water for the Thirsty we've had. This is really what we call organic. This is not. This is straight from the hip.
All right, straight. That's how we do it.
Hey.
We worked out the technical difficulties. Everybody's here, and we're gonna dive into it.
That's right.
All right. So you don't need to know who's here. You'll figure out as we talk. Sometimes we'll call somebody's name, and we're good. So we're gonna dive right in now. I had a question that's been burning me all week, and nobody's
Good
really
question.
been able to
Good
answer.
question.
And it has bearing, and I'm gonna start there because when I asked it first time, people were just kind of thinking I was asking a random question. It has bearing, and I'm gonna start with the bearing. Because depending on the answer to the question, it affects the way Kendrick will teach premarital sex to his youth group.
I'm not dealing with this question.
Is this about the wives?
Yeah, of course.
No,
Wow.
I can't deal with the question.
This is a hard question.
Y'all confuse me utterly in the thing.
Can
I
you let
wanted
me
to
finish?
respond.
I was reading it. I read for a little while. I had to
because
stop.
I did not get the question.
Okay, we
I'm
gotta
not
ask
hearing
the
the question.
So
Let's
she
ask
didn't
the
get a
question.
question, and for anybody else who may not know what the question is, the question I had was, well, let's start here. Let's start in the Bible. Let's start in the Bible. Please turn with me to Genesis chapter 12, verse 19.
After we go to 12:19, I think you'll get more clarity if you look at Genesis 25.
Yeah, 25 is on my list too.
Okay.
I have a number of texts.
Genesis 12:14.
12, 19.
Sorry, 12:19.
Randy, you have it?
No,
I
not
got
yet,
it.
sir. I will have it momentarily. I have it
Sharika, you
now.
have it?
I
Yep.
have it
All right,
now.
read it.
Why sayest thou, she is my sister? So I might have taken her to me to wife. Now therefore, behold thy wife, take her and go thy way.
Don't read it in that version.
Which
I'm
one?
confused.
So-
Kendrick, where you have
What
it?
version you want to
The
I have
version that I
some-
can understand.
All right.
What's
read that.
English?
Why?
English Standard? I got
I
you.
have NIV.
That makes it better.
Yeah, better. Why did you say she is my sister, so that I took her to be my wife? Now then, here is your. That's exactly how he took her.
That's exactly.
Keep going.
Now then, here is your wife. Take her and go.
All right. So what we have going on here? Pharaoh?
Let's
Oh, go ahead. Switch. What version is that?
This is NLT,
All right.
New Living Translation. And it says, what is this you've done to me? Why didn't you tell me she was your wife? Why were you willing to let me marry her, saying she was your sister? Here is your wife. Take her and be gone.
All right. So we start there, and we go to Genesis 16:3. Somebody, Genesis 16:3.
Sword in hand. Bam, I'm in there.
I got it.
So, after Abram had lived 10 years in the land of Canaan, and Sarah, Abram's wife, took Hagar the Egyptian, her servant, and gave her to Abram, her husband, as a wife.
Mm-hmm.
I think I have an answer for your question.
All right. So next, Genesis
There's
19:30.
some dudes out here with a lot of
Does
wives.
anyone have a Strong's concordance?
19, what?
19 verse 30,
30?
32, 38.
Let me know what you're telling me.
But
Let's
You said
take
what
8
again?
verses.
What, Genesis 19?
Yeah,
is
Genesis
this the
19.
last setup verse, or you have how many?
No, there's got to be 25, because it's consistent throughout the whole thing.
25 setup verses.
No.
He did not
Genesis
answer the
25.
question.
Oh, that's what I'm saying.
What we're
We
saying
still haven't
is you
got
guys
the
know
question.
the question. I haven't heard the question.
So
Now I'm trying to
Genesis-
figure out
what is
the
it?
question
Genesis
is,
what?
But
30. Oh,
Genesis.
19.
19.
19.
30 to
okay.
38, you said?
Let's hold on that one. Let's go to Genesis 24,
24.
67.
24, 66.
Oh, 6 and 7. So is it 67?
24, 6, and
No,
7.
there's a lot of versions in 24.
24, 67. Yes, it's 67. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then Isaac brought her into the tent of Sarah, his mother, and took Rebekah, and she became his wife, and he loved her. So Isaac was comforted after his mother's death.
His mama's tent.
Hey, that's
Dead.
I know, but still.
how is that disrespectful?
Couple more verses.
She's no
Well, let's do one more verse.
It's like your mom's
Let's do one
house,
more
sir,
verse.
bro.
Genesis 25, 1 and 6.
Genesis what?
25.
Abraham took another wife, whose name was Keturah. And verse 6. But to the sons of his concubines, Abraham gave gifts, and while he was still living, he sent them away from his son Isaac eastward to the east country.
So,
I didn't understand that one.
the question I have
That gives you the answer.
coming out of this reading is how do two people become husband and wife according to the Bible, the scripture? Now, we're not talking about the ideal in the garden, because we could have a whole separate conversation about that. But here in
Hold on.
these verses,
That, what you just said negates your question.
no, it doesn't.
Yes,
No,
it
It
does.
does. It
No, it
completely
doesn't.
does.
No, it doesn't.
Okay, I want to hear
Here's
it.
why.
But you know what I'm talking about.
Here's why.
Okay, go ahead. Just finish your
Let
question.
me set this up properly. So, throughout this thing that we've seen the use of the word wife, and we've seen somebody taking somebody to be their wife. What does that involve, and how do two people become husband and wife? To the point where there's a distinguishing between a wife and a concubine, a wife and a prostitute, you know.
Reason I said-
What is involved in the becoming of a wife? Because
Okay.
the couple of verses that I read, you see Isaac taking Rebekah in his mother's tent, and she became his wife,
Right.
right?
Okay.
And then you see Abraham being given Keturah,
Keturah.
Hagar, and
Oh,
to
right.
be his wife.
Right.
So what does becoming a wife involve?
Okay, so I'm gonna let the ladies
Sex.
first. Ladies first.
No.
Ladies first.
Consummation.
Hustle, man.
Okay.
Okay.
So consummation and choice.
Choice?
Consummation and choice. I'm answering. He had a
Yeah,
full.
okay, so let's go.
He had a full question. He said, "How does someone become your wife?" Consummation makes the person connected to you. Choice of the man determines whether or not she is a wife or concubine. Now,
Choice of the man?
choice of the man.
Okay.
Now, Sarah gave Abraham Hagar, but if he said she's not my wife, she's my concubine, that's what would have happened by his choice. Now, when she was given to him, he was like, "All right, no problem," because he didn't have a problem with it. And this even happens not only in the Bible, but if you saw all the way down to Caesar and the kings, they chose who was the wife and who was the concubine. And if we go further, because even the whole Bathsheba thing, was she a concubine or was she a wife? It was by his choice, whichever one he chose. Now, just like you said, you have to exclude what God's intention was. Because if we look at God's intention, then there'll be a man and a wife. But a man
She's talking about
and a
God's
wife.
intention in the garden.
His intention was a man and a wife. But because of sin, all of that became skewed.
Okay, but
Okay.
what made? I guess I was with you and then I lost you.
Okay,
So
where,
I lost you when you went to the
when
garden.
did you get lost?
I got lost at the point
got
when you
lost
went
in
to the
the
garden.
Yes. Okay, in the garden, before sin,
How does he become a wife? How does she become a wife?
consummation,
That's it.
consummation. But remember, this was
Right.
different. This was
Only
different.
consummation.
This is the whole what came first, chicken or the egg?
No.
No, because God gave the fact that she was created for him. That alone made
Well, can I speak
him
to that?
her wife, his wife
Can I just speak to that?
before.
The
Yes.
problem with that is that we're only speculating because we have no way of understanding what that was like.
Before
You
in
say
the garden.
that.
Yes.
In the garden, right.
Yes.
That's part of the reason I left it off.
Right, which
Yeah.
is why I said you negated your whole conversation at that point. The reason I said that is because after that point, it was cultural. Everything was cultural. It had nothing to do with the standard God set up. It was just what the culture did. And so our culture does something different from what they did. This is not relevant to us today. This was for that time in that culture, which is why I said your question is irrelevant after you said excluding what God did in the garden.
Okay.
Because if you include what God did in the garden, then we can have a different conversation. But if you're saying you're excluding what God did in the garden, there's no way you can say, well, let's include God bless. No, this is totally cultural. It becomes what the people
Can I
around them
change
do.
your thing?
Okay.
Does that make
Can
sense?
Can we include what God did in the garden? Because I want to
So
hear
that's
what
fine.
this is.
That's fine. We can do that now. We can do that.
But what I was saying about that is the difficult, including what God said in the garden, is then for us, I think the way we have to look at things, anything we understand from the Bible. What does it mean to me in the way that I understand reality? My culture dictates the way I see things. If my culture says this fruit is good to eat, I may eat it. Have you ever heard of durian? It's a fruit in Southeast Asia that smells like dead things.
It's horrible.
It's horrible. People crush it. They love it because it's in their culture. That's what's a delicacy. Culture defines everything, the way we view things. And so even my concept of God is shaped by my culture to a degree. When we start talking about and speculating about, well, in the garden, it would have been perfect. We don't even know it we can't even conceptualize the whole thing. We can't even use our own systems to make stuff make sense to us. How can we understand perfect? It doesn't make sense. So when we're trying to understand perfect, unless it's written out specifically for us, we don't know. And so we can think about it and say, well, it's probably very, very nice. There's probably a lot of connection with God. I don't know. What happened? How did the first thing work?
There's sex in the garden.
No.
Perfect sex?
Perfect sex. Holy cow.
It's impossible to achieve.
I said consummation. I just want you to know that.
What's the difference between
That's-
consummation and sex? Is sex.
Because the whole point, like, you... Never mind.
Because
What was coming
you
on
can
to
have
me-
sex
No, see
with
what the
anyone,
thing-
but consummation is when you
Oh, now
join
you-
together for marriage.
Oh, my gosh. Dude, no, it's not.
Oh, for real.
No,
They're
what's
talking
up?
about-
There are dudes out here that are like 14 that have multiple wives.
But 14.
But they did not.
Depending on the
they're-
definition.
Yes,
Depending on the
that's
definition.
the- that's
no,
the-
those are concubines.
No,
Because
they're not. They
never-
didn't
come
choose
on.
them to be
Y'all really
concubines.
went there after
They,
we...
no.
After we
They're,
just, like, we're like,
they're
it's not even-
concubines because they choose
Wow.
not to. They never see them again. They don't look them up again or anything like that. Now,
Wow.
the blood of Jesus covers everyone's sins. So the guys sin, because if that was the case where they were the wives, then everyone would be committing adultery, which is really funny because that's another question. Why is it
I thought
that
about
only
that.
women were accused of adultery in there, and men could have? Okay, I have 800 concubines.
Because y'all ate that.
So
Depends
I
on the
can't-
culture.
You know, and that's what I'm saying.
And it
Then
really
when we
depends
add
on the role of
culture
women. I
and
mean-
stuff like that,
You ate the fruit.
it becomes.
Oh, wow.
You missed last week.
You missed last week.
No,
Yeah, I wasn't here.
I thought you were coming back to it because you are coming back to last
Let
week.
me chime in a little bit. I think Genesis 25, 1 and 6 gives you the answer to your
Yes.
question. There's a distinction to be made in what man says his wife is and what God says his wife is. So what you have to look at is the institution of marriage and what God ordains is what
Now
I'm
that-
thinking.
That's a different conversation, right?
We have a caller.
That
Guys,
changed.
Oh!
we have a caller.
Awesome.
It's 2 weeks in a row. We don't.
Look 25, 1 and 6. In
Hold on,
one,
hold on.
in one, Abraham says
All right,
he took a wife.
One
Call
second.
on it, Daniel.
Mm-hmm.
Hello? Caller? Are you there?
Hello.
What's up? Who's this?
Sound like Pastor
Hey,
Cousins.
1%.
Who?
Rusty is Rusty.
Hey, Rusty, what's going on, brother?
Nothing much. Went throughout the Old Testament for the majority. When it comes to marriages, what you see is that wife is usually picked, and they usually, and then the Bible talks about and goes, like confirmation, like the book talking about. We got to be very careful because we're trying to kind of like put what we know up against God, in a sense. We know it's ceremony and all this other stuff. Back then, when you really look at the Old Testament, you really see ceremonies like that. You really didn't see ceremony until Jesus came around. So we got to be very careful to that. Really and truly, today, of course, I said obey laws of the land. So, we do not all and not understanding where that position really comes from. But the Bible that talks from that point on down the date and that. So what? Since when they went into or whatever summation happened. So gotta be very careful with idea of marriages and what men's idea of marriage or the process, I should say. What this is marriage, man's being true. I've slept with many women, so and not understanding the consequences. Everybody you have kept a piece of and kept a piece of you, so you gotta be careful. You know, mean that we're not out understand what method is supposed to be and what not to understand as it's supposed to. But that's the money.
All right, Ross. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Yep.
What he's basically saying is that we don't. A lot of it's cultural, and the fruit of the matter, the crux of the matter is, you know, when you sleep with many people, you're leaving a piece of yourself with them. We really need to be mindful of people we sleep with and things of that nature and how it aligns with God. Did I get that correct?
I think so. I think
Yes,
it was. I think he was
that's what I
talking
heard.
about. I think he was talking about what he. One thing I heard that may resonate with me based on what we were reading about, what we were talking about earlier this week. He was saying that there was no ceremony, and there isn't a ceremony. There's not like a moment where everyone's like, oh, and then you're going to do this, you're going to do that, and a guy comes in and says you're blessed. That's interesting, because isn't God the head of the institution? So
if there, this is devil's advocate in some case. If God is the head of the institution, there aren't many examples here where God is asked, is this person my wife? By anyone, for the most part. They just be taking each other. So they're not asking anybody for no sort of authority, unless we're missing that piece of the picture here.
Like the way the whole Rebecca and the whole Rachel thing out, the way like in Rebecca's case, the way the servant was led, you can infer that God essentially gave Rebecca to and ordained particular.
But I'm saying that in
that sense.
But I'm saying if we're saying the only real authority in this is God, I would think that there would be examples in the Bible of Father. You see that one? Is that one me? No? Okay. Next one. Is it this one? No? Okay. No one's communicating with God to say, is it this one or is it that one? Abraham picking up Keturah. He taking this one.
But see, Abraham was wrong. And God was like, you're wrong.
He was wrong
man.
about...
And he created so many issues.
He was wrong about
Hagar. He's wrong about Hagar, man. Like,
but not Keturah.
But not Keturah.
How was he wrong about Hagar?
But didn't his wife give... Oh, no, he had her.
He took Keturah.
Yeah, he took
But I'm
Keturah.
saying he was wrong about Hagar because... Hey, now he has a son who hates him.
He was trying to keep his wife happy.
Yeah, but that was after the fact.
Bro,
right?
but I'm saying like the ramifications
His
that
wife gave it to him. He was told by God that he was going to be the father of many nations.
Right.
His wife was like, I'm old. He never told him how he was going to be the father of many nations.
And he didn't say he was going to be the father of only one nation.
And he said many.
Which is kind of deep.
So he didn't say Sarah was going to be the mother.
And didn't say Sarah was going to be the mother. He didn't find that till after.
He said Sarah was going to have.
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious.
He told her Sarah was going to give him a son, but he never said.
Didn't Sarah laugh?
Yeah,
but that was after
he told Abraham a whole bunch of the times.
But this is before Hagar.
No.
Sarah laughed after Ishmael was born.
Yes. That was afterwards.
She laughed the year before the baby came, and Ishmael was 14 or about 13.
Before she laughed, like she gave him Hagar, and what I read is assuming that this was the way, because I can't give him a child. I haven't been able to give him a child. Right. This is the way you're going to be able to do with God, and I'm assuming that he told her what God told him. He's going to be the father of many nations. Mm-hmm. Right? Can't get Abraham on that one.
I mean, but it's interesting. I never thought about what the phrase is. It says he's going to be the father of many nations. I've always interpreted that to mean the Hebrew people are going to come out of Abraham, but the Edomites came out of Abraham, and there's another group of people who were there. Ishmael.
Ishmael's tribe.
That was it. Ishmael, and then there was another tribe that came out of Abraham. What was it?
Keturah didn't have a baby?
Oh yeah, Couture had enough pigment.
So
Yeah, so I'm saying like that.
going back to
the
the original question. So what I've gotten from it is simply that when you have sex with someone, that's your wife.
That's your wife. That's your husband.
That's
No,
what I
she said it's a 2-for-1.
No, yeah. I'm saying what I got.
No,
That's what I got.
She said you have sex and choose.
She was saying the man has sex.
The man has sex.
And choose.
Dang, man, that's cold.
So you can bang her and be like, that was whack, she's a concubine. Or you can bang her and be like, yo, that's my wife, son, I like that.
Which is why, and the thing is, you go back to the song.
Sometimes she was a prostitute, which
and they were
which was by choice.
Her choice.
Which was her choice.
That
was her
duties.
profession.
Yes.
Then when concubines were
made money.
just like the kings, a king, there were women who wanted to be with a king, hoping to be his wife, but they ended up being concubines. There's only one queen. It's by his choice. So we're having fun, but it's by the man's choice which one or which ones are his wife. And when it comes to royalty, you can only choose.
I disagree in this situation. So with Jacob and Leah, he thought, first of all, this is weird. I don't even know how she was cross-eyed. It was dark. But so you can't feel cross-eyed.
They just had a party, okay? They just had a party. These are herdsmen.
You can't.
He just had a party. He'd been drinking.
He's lit. He's lit. That's cool. I understand that. And you can't feel it. You can't feel a lazy eye. So I understand that. But the Bible, there were two things that the Bible mentioned. The Bible mentioned, number one, that Rachel had a figure.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
But she laying on her back, you can't tell.
And that Leah was cross-eyed, which I'm saying that she didn't have a figure and Rachel wasn't cross-eyed. Right? So, but he goes in, he sleeps with Leah.
Right. After that, he can't change it.
And that was not his choice.
He can't change it, though.
And he said he slept with Leah, and that was his wife.
Whose choice was it, though?
It wasn't his.
Whose choice
it was her father's.
It became his choice.
No, it wasn't.
No,
his choice.
She had to see it.
No, that was forced on him.
It became his choice because of Rachel?
It became his choice because once everything was
slept
said and
with
done,
her.
Once everything was said and done and the lights came on, who is this?
And when you say the lights came on, the sun came up.
Yes.
The day broke.
Can we not be distracted? When day broke and he realized who he had entered the ceremony into, because remember before we said there's no ceremony. He had this ceremony and consummation. Okay? Because weddings in their culture last a long time. Okay? Not just a day like us.
Yeah, but she wasn't the wife until after the tent.
But the consummation.
Actually, that's not. So that's not true.
Consummated,
it's not true.
Then he struck a deal with her father.
No. So Laban said, "It's better that I give her to you than to some other man. Stay here with me." So Jacob.
No. Go a verse before that.
Where did that go?
Go a verse before that. Before that, Kenrick.
I feel like Jacob
Genesis
felt bad.
what?
Oh, he said no. So he said so. Jacob served.
Genesis 29.
Genesis 29 verse 20. So Jacob served 7 years to get Rachel, but they seemed like only a few days to him because of his love for her. Then Jacob said to Laban, "Give me my wife. My time is completed, and I want to make love to her."
Okay.
All right.
So maybe. Okay, but we have to also.
But he's also probably thinking like that's the girl.
But think about this though, because now we also have to take into account this is Jacob's mom's brother or family. There are different people. Maybe their customs are different.
they're all the same people.
No, they're not. They're not.
Yeah, because Abraham, because when Abraham wanted Isaac, he said specifically to his servant to go back to my people. Don't take him.
You're right.
Don't take.
You're right.
So and then Jacob did the same thing.
The same grandfather.
Keep going.
But what I'm saying, what I'm saying is the ceremony might have been different. If there was a ceremony,
I think he's.
You're talking about.
When he says,
then why does it say when you read on? What does it say when you read on? Okay, wait until after the fest. Tell me what word it is.
Feast.
Tell me the.
There's a wedding feast.
So wait until after. And
No, the
then
bridal
take-
week.
He gathered all the people of the place.
Tell me-
Wait.
to
Let's
take-
read
to
it. Let's
take-
just
to
read.
take-
Let's just
read
read
it.
it.
Read- I
Let's
wanna
just
read
read
it.
it.
29
From 22.
to 21.
21. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Jacob,
'Cause
then
I was
Jacob
told-
said to Laban, "Give me my wife that I may go in with her, for my time is completed." So Laban gathered together all the people of the place and made a feast. But in the evening he took his daughter Leah and brought her to Jacob, and he went in with her. Laban gave his female servant Zilpah to his daughter Leah to be her servant. And in the morning, behold, it was Leah.
Hey.
And Jacob said to
And
Laban,
what do we find out about the
"What is
culture?
this you've done to me? Did I not serve with you for Rachel? Why then have you deceived me?" And Laban said, "It is not so done in our country to give the younger before the firstborn. Complete the week of this one, and we will give you the other also in return for serving me another
Wait.
7 years."
No, but think
Yes.
about this. Think
Okay,
about
the week,
the
that's
week.
fine.
No, I agree with you. I understand what you're saying. I think the week also may have been a method by which they're trying to get somebody pregnant. I think that's what it is.
With all
I
of
think
that
it's like the whole
speculation,
week.
what I'm saying is this was the celebration for them. And then some people, if you read on, some people say, "Oh, he had to work another 7 years before he got." No,
Got
he
to
had
the
both of them at the same
Yeah.
time.
So
The next
yeah, because the
He
next
had
he
both
said
at
he
the same
gave
time.
him
He
his
just had to
daughter.
work longer. He
So
was
he,
Hold up.
but here's
No,
what
no,
here's
but
what
it
he
happened
did.
at the
Yes,
same
he
time.
did.
Yes,
He
it
did.
did.
He said
Yes.
Jacob
It was
got
one
saved
week and another
complete
week.
her
I mean, it was at the
week,
end of the
and
week. It
then
was 28.
Wait,
He-
and
then
then I
Laban
give it to
gave
you.
him.
Right.
He hit it on Saturday, and then he had another one on Sunday.
So,
But
but,
think-
but
Another
wait,
Saturday.
hold on.
what's the
Next
significance of the week?
Well, hold on one second. Before we even go so further,
I can't.
it seems like Jacob did not make the choice to have Leah, though.
That's
That's the
my
He's
point.
respecting Laban to say, "Okay, if this is how you do it in your culture, I'm gonna get what I want, and I'm gonna
And
have
that's what
this."
I'm saying. I said they
Which was-
bargained.
which
But
was
he's
my
still
point.
a wife.
That's
was
what
my
I'm saying.
point.
But they bargained for it because he could have been like, no.
No, because he
Walking
would
She's
never
a
got Rachel.
concubine.
Hold up,
And he
Daniel.
wouldn't have
You
gotten Rachel.
Daniel, you keep putting up your hand when there's a
I'm sorry.
caller. So we're going to put you on hold.
He's being patient, man.
But make sure you put your hand
Yes,
up
be
so that we
patient.
can bring it back in
I have to remember
afterwards.
my thought.
Okay, write it down.
Write it down.
Hello?
You're
All right, Daniel, over the floor.
Okay. I think one of the aspects that we miss, you ever hear you reap what you sow? Okay. Jacob had his choice taken from him because Laban deceived him. So he wanted Rachel, but he ended up with Leah. Look at what happened with the father now. The father is supposed to bless Esau, but because of deception, he ended up blessing Jacob. So you reap what you sow. You did that to your father, and it's mistaken identity. So now it's mistaken identity. You get the
Wow,
wife you
makes
didn't want.
sense.
True.
But it's still a wife.
But it's still
Right.
slept
So,
with her,
wait,
and
so,
now
so
she's
the
his
question.
wife.
It's
So the
still life.
wait. So the question is,
Sex.
did Jacob? No,
It was
no,
out
no,
of
no,
re-
no.
it was
My
out of
question is,
respect.
did Jacob? See, she's jumping on the answer to my
Sorry.
question. Is Jacob simply doing this because he doesn't really want to not have Rachel, but he's like, well, I thought it was Rachel. It was dark. You know, like, is he
Could
just
be
being
that he don't
pragmatic,
listen to
No, he-
or is he like,
He don't wanna
now
ruin-
I'm my wife already? Now she's my wife
I
already.
want
Now
to
we
ruin
want
the
to
relationship
No.
with the family.
with the father and
With
the
the
family.
family.
Point
One
where he can't
and-
have her.
Yes, that, and Leah would then not be able to marry anybody because she's already wifed.
Yeah.
But see, my
She's
my-
already wifed.
or she's concubined or
Because
whatever.
that's what happened with
No,
with
because if
Esther.
it was a choice, he probably would have concubined her.
All those
So what
virgins,
else-
all
okay,
those
so then
virgins
let's-
went into the
Huh?
king.
Well, how
Not
about
in
how about
front
we
of
go
father,
back to what I was
that's a
saying? Is
shotgun
like it could have been a
wedding.
Once
cultural
you
thing.
concubine, you
It
can't
could have been a
wife,
really
though.
big different cultural thing.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is,
But
you can
so
have
far
kids.
the culture
But you got wife.
is
You
But it's
still
not
got it.
consistent. No, it's not
the
consistent.
culture is consistent that when a man slept with a woman, she became his wife.
No, it's
Except
not
in the
consistent.
instance when there were prostitutes.
No, it's not consistent because we just had the whole question that you had was
With
when a
Abraham.
man sleeps with a woman, is his wife or a concubine, and you're saying it's a guy's choice. What we're seeing now
I
in
said
this
it's a guy's
situation
choice.
is that he's just like doing it because that's the expectation.
But he
It's
still
not his
chose
choice.
it. But he still chose
He
it.
wasn't
He just
going
went
to-
out
But
because
that
he
wasn't-
wanted to get what he wanted.
It's true. For,
He chose
it-
it
I don't
after the
think
fact. He
it
could have
was
put
as
her
simple
away.
as that.
He
He could have done anything there. If it
But
was
here's the
about
thing.
if it was about his power over her, I think he just went along with their customs. Again, coming back to the
But-
customs.
but
I
in
think
the
that's
same
what
breath-
it
No,
drives the whole thing.
He could have called it out and been like, no, but this is our bargain. When two men agree on something, you owe me what we agreed upon. The Bible itself says that this was trickery. that this was not fair.
Right.
But he chose. And that's why he confronted him. If it wasn't that deep, he wouldn't have confronted him. He'd be like, okay, I'm gonna have all the systems.
It was that.
Was it trickery? Well, okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
But let's try and bring it back to why I was asking the question. Why I was asking the question was, is it such that now, even though we don't have the same culture, that from the standpoint of, I don't even know if it's to say God, does this affect premarital sex in any way? I guess is my question.
You wanna go first because you've been so patient. Because I'm.
No, I'm still formulating my thought process.
Okay, here.
You didn't ask me.
Because you just jump in whenever you want to.
Like double dutch.
Does this? Okay, can I go to the end first and then come back if you want me to?
Sure.
Sin is sin is sin, and God can forgive adultery. And so when we consummate, and if I had 5 partners before and then I get married to my husband, and he had 5 partners before and he gets married to me, then technically we're committing adultery. But when we repent, when we consummate together and make a commitment together and with God, can't he forgive all the rest of our stuff?
Question.
So,
Question.
I agree.
Go ahead.
Question after you then.
So I could be making this up. This could be Spirit or Prophecy or somewhere I picked up along the Adventist Church way. Did it say something about God only recognizes the first marriage?
You probably were reading off thread. That's what Daryl said.
No, didn't read that part of the thread. So I got it before that. That he only recognizes the first marriage, which is why a lot of times Adventist people are against divorce because God don't remarriage because God doesn't recognize the second marriage.
Well, there's stipulations mentioned in the Bible that gives you reasons why you can divorce and why you can't.
So if that is the case,
no. Before you even go further, let's confirm or dispel that myth because that's not that. I know that's not true. But if you look in, because depending on who you are, like royalty and so on and so forth, the queen, just like again, the queen, like was Vashti now not the queen and Esther, does that not count?
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's not true. It's based on circumstance of whether God says, I'm only honoring this wife. Like remember poor guy.
So how do you know for God saying to you, I'm only honoring Shonice? How do you know that?
But so if you're not holy, then you can't sin.
Well,
that's why a lot of people don't believe in God because they're like.
I think that.
We don't know
Christ,
which one's God's honor.
No. But I think Christ's sacrifice on the cross changed the whole equation of everything. He changed everything.
Yes.
So it doesn't. Paul said. And I'm quoting Paul out of context on purpose, just to use the analogy. Paul said everything is good, but everything isn't okay to do. But it's not horrible. Like you're not going to die if you overeat, but you might at the end. So the idea is not, all sins are okay. You can do whatever you want, and God's going to forgive you. The idea is certain things are going to make you psychologically and physiologically and mentally, psychologically it makes the same thing. Healthier. Some things are just going to be better for you. If I go outside and I get vitamin D, I'm going to be a happier guy. If I don't get vitamin D, I'm not going to be a happy guy. I could have seasonal affective disorder and want to shoot myself in the head. Like that's real.
Wow.
But if I don't know that
was extreme.
If I don't know, because more suicides happen in this time of year than any other time. This is real. But if I don't have vitamin D, I don't know vitamin D can keep me from killing myself. Then is it my fault that I didn't know that? I don't know. It comes down to the whole thing of
look. Stay
with her and answer a question.
No, but
I'm talking about the same thing.
There are people I know, believers. When I say believers, believe in Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Married for business. Hey, this is a business transaction. This works. We're good friends. We can make this work. Or we've agreed that we're gonna join. is that okay? Like, we've removed the whole love situation here, and I'm
No,
asking,
doesn't
like,
matter.
but
The
you remove
choice
the whole.
still remains.
But you remove that
Love
whole
is
thing
a
when you
choice
ask
anyway,
the state to approve your marriage or whatever.
what I'm saying is this: is it if
goodness.
I
It
decide
is.
to get married for
Makes it true.
business, if I decide to get married for love, if I decide to get married for power, are we
That's a
saying
fair
that?
question, but I want to stay
So-
on premarital
so my-
sex
so my whole
because
thing-
I'm concerned about the young people in Kenrick's group.
So,
Go
but
ahead.
this is my thing. So my only reason why I'm not too sure, like I understand, like based upon what the Bible says, when you have sex, you're married. The problem is there's a difference between, and the Bible makes a difference between adultery and fornication, which means, and fornication is having sex before you're married.
Fornication
So-
may not have meant
So
sex.
so if you can't have sex before you
Fornication
marry
may not have meant
unless
actual intercourse.
it's
just in other stuff that comes
No,
with it.
fornication is when you have sex with someone with
Masturbation.
no intention to marry them at all. So
Before
consummation
you have
and
sex with
choice.
someone.
Remember, and that's what I'm saying.
I'm lost.
Marriage is based on. Remember, marriage is based on.
What did you give the definition?
I gave
of
you two.
fornication? That's what I'm
Yeah,
trying
that's
to-
what
That's what I'm telling you.
Okay.
If we go back to my original answer, marriage is based on consummation and choice. You can't just separate them because you guys are like, oh, he chose it. It's consummation and choice.
So without the two, you cannot have a marriage.
Without the two, you can't have a marriage.
Okay.
You
But I thought we
understand?
dispelled that with Leah.
No, we
chose.
did not dispel it.
He
You guys
actually
didn't
chose.
agree.
She's saying she was
but,
saying he
but it's
chose
still
to stay
correct.
there
He chose
because he wanted the other one. But she,
Daniel.
He chose to
Then
stay
you
for
have to
whatever
help
his
me out
reasons
here.
was. He chose to keep
whatever. Yeah,
Whatever
he made.
his reason,
He, no.
chose
He
to
made a
stay.
choice. He made a
chose.
choice.
And so fornication is
after the fact.
fornication is you know you're about to have sex, but you know that you're not doing this to be married at all. No intentions whatsoever to have a marital relationship with this person at all. So fornication, sin, remember, sin starts in the mind. So you sin before you even finish the consummation because you know that that's not going to be a marriage for you. And all this whole concubine and wife and all this extra stuff, this is a man-made. That's a man-made
So
institution.
if I have
Wait,
sex before marriage, but I
No.
plan on marrying you, this is okay.
You
If
got
you
married
have sex-
early.
Here's the
You
truth.
got
The
married
truth
early.
is,
It
if
is.
you have sex before
Really?
marriage, that's your husband, and you guys decide to. You just haven't gotten the blessing of everyone else in the state and so on and so forth.
So technically, if I had sex at 9 and I just kept having sex with the same
Why
person,
Why not? Can
Why
we,
not?
Can we do like
16,
can we raise it
Wow,
up a
that
little bit?
just hurt
Legal
my
limits.
feelings in my heart.
Daughter's 7. Like,
if I had sex
Seriously.
at 16,
I mean, this is real life. People have sex at 9. It's sad.
no,
But,
no,
but 6.
Not here.
Yes, they are.
Not in Water for the Thirsty.
focus, people.
Anyway.
Focus, people.
If you had sex at 16 and you just happen to be having sex with the same person your entire life, you're telling me from the age of 16 I have chosen to marry this person?
So
That's
it's okay.
why-
It's
that's
okay
why
for
I asked
Mary.
my
It's
question.
okay for Mary and Joseph, but it's not okay for today.
I'm not
Mercy,
I'm
she was there.
This is why I'm asking this question, because when we
They
start to
actually
have
did.
these conversations in youth group with the young people, we want them to understand how serious and significant
It is.
this
It's
sexual
serious.
interaction is.
And what we should do is
And what I was seeing here was, once you decide you're going to have sex with this person, that person, that's what it appeared to
They
be.
become-
It becomes your wife. So which means technically you don't really have a premarital sex, and whoever you should spend more time thinking about whether I'm going to do this thing if I'm not making this commitment, because technically you are making the commitment, and you end up like the
Simply
woman
doing
at
it.
the well.
No, it's not. It's not because it still is based on choice. But
the only problem is like in the Bible.
So
like,
wait.
because
What
if
you're
that's
so
true,
what you're
then
saying
there's no
what you're
such thing
saying
as
is
fornication. There's only adultery.
what you're,
No, well, there's a definition.
wait,
here.
what you're saying is that
Doesn't mean sexual
you're giving people
Intention to sin.
right. You're giving people the option of saying, "Yo, you know that it's not a what you're maybe tell me if I'm wrong, but you're saying there's no magical moment at intercourse. Oh, ding, you're married now. That's not it. That never happens.
No.
Because you have to have that choice in
Intention.
exactly. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Intention.
I just wanted because
the
that
power
that
of choice.
that
the
piece
power
is
of choice
important.
for us is remember whenever you say sin, the power of choice comes into play.
That's deep.
That's
it's true.
why.
Makes sense.
That's why you can't convict someone who you're both drowning in the ocean and you grab the life preserver before they grab the life preserver. That's not murder because you're not trying to kill someone. You're trying to preserve your life. Your intention
Your
is
choice.
not to kill someone. You're not choosing. And so when they say, oh, so-and-so died and they drowned, it's like, oh, he took their life preserver. He's a murderer. It's not the same thing. Intention has to come with sin.
All right, we have a call. I think that's a good break to invite the caller in. Hey, who's this?
Time almost finished. We need to move to a different question.
Hey, it's Rusty again, man.
Welcome back, Rusty. You should just be here, man.
Before get to Jake, you see, I forgot. He sent it to go choose a daughter. Choose a wife for his son. It wasn't to back with the woman that son. He was like, oh, okay, I'm good with that. Again, they go to the tent and they consummate. Here with they sees Rachel, and I don't know what but he falls in with Rachel. He makes a pact with Rachel's father, like, I will wait for 7 years for you, but at the end of that years, they want the young one. Now the thing with Nathan is, like, how is it that the younger one will get married the older one? That wasn't allowed. We understand my history behind what's going on. I definitely agree with the brother that you reap what you sow. Jacob leaves his phone, and here Jacob is still being deceived. But we got to understand that God made a choice that Rachel was gonna be his wife. He never said wanted Rachel. Through the word, we see that it has to be either proved by elder at the time or by the person who is being moved by. For most of the time, I heard someone said, "Well, it's God." Pretty much on the whose authority. But we got up there, and that God usually spoke to the elder back. So most of the time, I would like, oh, let's go find a wife or find a wife, such and such. Leah wasn't Jacob's first. Rachel was his first choice. He didn't love Rachel. He chose to even his own standing was to give Leah.
That's actually, I like that point though.
All right. Say it again. He didn't choose Leah as a wife. He chose Rachel. Is that what he said?
Jacob didn't choose Leah after.
He chose Leah afterwards.
After the fact.
That's who Jacob, because of the issues back then, what the younger ones could get before the older one did.
But even
for whatever reason, that just seemed right. Nathan put up on it to see David and get his older daughter. And then, for another week, you get Rachel. After that, you for the 7 years. Jacob wants nothing to do. He chose Rachel.
Gotcha.
Okay.
And what I forgot her. What she said is right. There is a choice that has to be made.
All right.
Because when you put that is at a person actually get elder, there's a that could be made. But the choice is solidified through consummation.
Gotcha.
So you have to be like once it's very full of what you have to look at it in context and at it in these times, like God saw as marriage. Would be a ceremony. See, this week the celebration of, but we never see ceremony in that. Well, in the Old Testament, I've never seen a ceremony. Even what I said before, when Christ
wrap it up, Rusty.
What we're looking at, and we, we're looking at things in context. But this is a choice. The person who's happy making a choice, or the person who's looking for the wife, I should say, make a choice or elder.
Gotcha.
Okay.
To try, or the person's fault, whatever the elder is, that's making the choice. It's a choice.
All right, buddy.
Also, and by him consummating, that's like, this is valid marriage.
All right. Thanks, Rusty. We appreciate that. So we are solidified that there is some kind of choice involved in this process. There is consummation. So there's choice and consummation. Is there anything else?
Yes. You asked me to look up fornication. And I looked at the Greek word translated fornication by the King James Bible is from porneia, which is the word we get where we get pornography
Or pornography.
from. And it refers to any unlawful sexual activity.
What
Like,
does that mean?
when you say lawful, like legal,
Unlawful.
that's just
What does lawful mean?
And
Like
then
this?
it
Now this
says
is according to the Greeks.
It says the
Hey, wait a minute.
it says
They didn't have
the
that.
Think about how, like,
It
what
says
was
the
the law?
BDAG, the standard and best Greek lexicon, defines it as unsanctioned sexual intercourse.
Unsanctioned by whom?
unsanctioned. Yeah, that's
By
still
whom?
vague.
Then it goes on to say the sanctioning of the sexual activities defined in the Old Testament by what it is more than how often it is. In other words, we learned that what is lawful with regard to fulfilling our sexual desires by creating boundaries of foreign territory considered sinful.
So it's sounding like this whole marriage thing, as Randy said from the offset, is a cultural thing, and what it means to be married, even though it includes choice and sex, is really a matter of where
Well, look
you're
at what
from.
No.
Well, no,
No.
look at
No,
No,
God
but you have to-
instituted marriage. God instituted marriage. We add our cultures to how we constitute getting married and staying married. That's when culture comes in. That's why it's such a big thing. If you notice in America, you don't hear I'm about to start a can of worms. The legalities in marriage make it so that in America you have the only people who are fighting to get married are homosexuals. Everyone else doesn't want to be married because it's like culture. The culture gives you the high status and the responsibility, and in this culture, people are fighting for it. People in other countries are like, "What's the big deal? What's the big deal about being married?"
We have a
You know why? Because in our laws, it's the marriage that gives you the more power. To them in other countries, it's like, okay, we had a child together, we have equal rights. You have paternity leave, I have maternity leave. As long as we both on this birth certificate, the whole marriage thing is not important to them because their culture.
Marriage here is
Because their culture. So all I'm saying
it's financial. Everything is financial here.
All I'm saying,
the only status you gain by marriage are tax statuses and all that kind of stuff.
all I'm saying is
marriage means absolutely nothing.
marriage is defined differently by people, but its original status was from God, and such a big fight over it. Because the truth is, if there were legalities given to everyone, then marriage wouldn't be so important. You understand what I mean? If you and your wife have the equal rights, if you die and she still gets your property without having to be your wife, if there's just a connection and signing of the paper, then the whole marriage thing wouldn't have that much clout. But in our culture, because in other cultures it doesn't have that much clout because you don't need all that extra stuff. But when we look at what God put together, instituted.
I disagree with the other cultures thing because people who live who live in what we would consider primitive societies make a big deal about that. Marriage is a big deal. Even though you have 2 or 3 wives, it's a big deal for a girl to
I'm
be
not
married.
saying primitive societies. I'm saying other societies where whether you're married or not, you have the same equalities of
You're just talking legal rights.
legal rights.
Where though?
That was saying
We're in Europe. Okay, we're exactly in Europe.
Women can only ratify
We're exactly in Europe. Where exactly in
Yeah,
Europe?
but they care for marriage.
Is it okay?
So
look
what
up
about other
Denmark
places
because I think
where-
it's Denmark
where it's a
where.
matriarch?
Guys, I don't want this to
Okay,
stray too far.
I actually wanted to go into a different.
Yeah, so let's close this.
Proverbs.
Let's close this. Let's close this.
We just closed though.
And I'm going to.
Because we're-
So where do we close this?
We don't.
We don't.
Marriage is a covenant.
No.
No.
Yeah.
Where do we close it?
Marriage is a
We need to close it.
Marriage is a choice. Marriage is
So
a
the
choice.
elements of
If
choice.
we're
So
between
the
9
original
and
question:
16,
how do two people become husband and wife? They choose
How
and
do
they
two people
consummate.
become husband and wife? How about
There's
this?
a choice and a consummation.
How about this? Jesus talks about marriage through Paul. Paul says, "Wives, submit yourselves to the husband as unto the Lord." And she said, then they say, "Wives, give you be willing to." I'm paraphrasing. Be willing to give yourselves like Christ gave for the church. Now that's very, very clear. I mean, Christ died for the church. I'm sorry if a woman knows that I'm willing to die for her. There's not a lot she's not going to do for me if I'm really being an honest guy. And she thinks I'm kind of cute. Like, seriously, if she's like, this dude will sacrifice everything for me, heck yeah, all right, what you want? You want me to cook you every day? I'll cook food. She doesn't care because she's got that security. For the guy, it's like, okay, I'm willing to put myself out there. Fulfills all the roles and all the needs that we have as individual genders that have been, in the way that we think about it now. That's from God. So I think that we need to look to see what the Bible says about what it means to be married. How do we get married? That may be different for some people. But when we talk about what it means to actually be married, what it means for someone to take a wife who's saying, I'm a follower of Christ, there's some very specific things we can look at, and it's pretty clear.
Yeah. And that's the thing. We're trying not to go into the relationship of how marriage is supposed to work.
That stuff is
Because that's
cultural.
even big. That's even bigger.
So what I'm hearing is that this requires further study.
Yes, it does.
I think it requires further study, but I don't think it's I don't think it's like a
And so we can continue having the same conversation about premarital sex that we've been having in your group.
You can't.
And this doesn't impact it.
No, I think it impacts it. I think it impacts it.
I think. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think we're
If
over.
We're about to close this right here.
While we have definitions for what a wife should do, what a husband should do, how that should work in modern day society, sitting here being pretty removed from the conversation, I don't think we've defined husband or wife. So we haven't figured out how we get there. Clearly, there are some cultures where it's matriarch run and the woman has 15 million husbands and she's quite content, and if she don't want you no more, she's gonna go back to your house and she gets another one. That's one. And there's cultures where Indian cultures where if you can't afford 2 wives, you can only have one. It's all about how much you can afford in some cases. We have not set a standard. So it's all great in theory. Kenrick said it best. Between the ages of 9 and 16, let's not have sex at all.
Can't get married.
Can't get married. You can't have sex. Just stay away from it. The choice is not. I don't believe you're mature enough.
Well, what about this? Just talking about the youth group. Talking about the youth group. Ask the youth group. This is a question I ask my students. You go into a room and somebody's looking at you crazy. You get mad. You keep asking them stuff and they don't even respond to you. They just keep nodding their head and they're looking straight at you. You're getting upset. You're getting ready to fight. You're like, let's go to town. The person comes in, like, yo, what's up with your boy? Oh man, that dude, man, he's blind. He can't even see you looking at him. Oh, how do you feel? Stupid. I'm like, exactly. Are you willing to make a life or death decision because you feel a certain way when you know your feeling can change like that? That's dumb. It doesn't make sense.
Oh,
But if
see, you know what?
Does that make sense?
Come on.
Yes, but
I can't.
Come
that's
on,
gonna-
guys.
that's gonna-
It's not that simple. A youth discussion needs to be a long, intense discussion. We cannot solve that here because we cannot undermine the power of sex. Sex is awesome, but it's also an awesome responsibility, and that needs to be discussed somewhere else. We can't solve that here. That needs to be discussed where they can ask questions back and forth and we can bring that clear to them. That is wonderful. It's awesome. Think about the full responsibility of it and what God wants for you in that relationship.
sounds like the regular sex conversation. So we didn't impact that conversation at all here today.
I don't think
We did, but
We didn't.
We didn't really, because you end up at the same rhetoric.
You still don't know
There's
the
still
wife.
there's still no significance of the first sexual act in terms of wifing and husbanding based on what we just where we just landed.
yeah, because it's based on choice.
Right.
So that's
So-
not your.
so-
but you
so-
have sinned.
We're
But no,
the same place.
it's significant. It's
But you've taken
important.
life.
It is important and it's significant because of the ramifications for you physiologically. That's real.
Okay.
That's real.
From that angle, yes, we
it-
can go
it-
there. We can go
yeah,
there.
we
All
touch
right.
a lot. We touch a lot, but it
I'm
takes
still
seminars.
not settled on it, but we're gonna close it because we don't have the space or time to fully examine it in this forum. All right. So at this juncture, it is now 9 o'clock. So we're gonna close officially. You don't have to cut the camera. I'm just breaking here. We're done. Oh no, we're not done. Join us next week, next 2 weeks, first Friday in February. We're gonna dig into this some more, and we're going into the afterglow now. Afterglow starts with a question from Daniel. Daniel, tell us what's happening.
Okay, let me get my notes.
All right. In the meantime,
That was tough, man. I don't know. White joints kind
I
of.
got it ready.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't tough. It's really simple.
No. Daniel's ready.
I'm ready.
Okay.
We need to look at the word replenish.
Replenish.
In the book of Genesis.
Okay. Genesis replenish.
After the flood, God tells Noah to replenish the earth.
Replenish. Yes.
all right.
What verse?
Now go
What
back.
chapter?
Okay. What chapter? You have to give us exact.
That'll be
Uh,
Genesis chapter 7, probably.
7.
No,
8.
it'll be
The flood recedes. That's 8.
Probably
Right. The
chapter
God
8.
found. Finally, Noah was 600 left up drying up. We released all the animals.
I think Genesis 8.
I
I think it's Genesis 9.
Then Noah built an
The clean and
altar.
unclean, like the pork stuff.
Check Genesis 9.
Doesn't apply.
Genesis 9 verses
Check
1.
Genesis
Start
9
from
1.
9:1.
9.
God blessed Noah and his sons and told them, multiply and fill the earth. All the wild animals, large and small, and all the birds and fish will be afraid of you. I have placed them in your power. Okay, and the rest
Is
of
that
it,
What version you reading from?
the same in New Living Translation.
I think in your version it answered my question.
Okay.
Yes,
New version
fill,
of Bible.
fill.
It's your version says fill.
Yeah,
Mine
okay.
says replenish.
What were you thinking?
Yes.
What I was thinking was, okay, God tells Noah to replenish the earth, and he also tells Adam and Eve to replenish the earth. If Adam and Eve are the first two beings, how can they replenish the earth?
Tell me, show me.
It
where-
says
Oh, no,
Adam
no,
and
no.
Eve
Adam and Eve
replenish?
didn't replenish.
No, but wait, show
No,
me,
but-
show me, show me,
yeah,
show me,
where
show
did
me.
you see that?
Show me.
Genesis 1:28.
Okay.
And God blessed them, and God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. That's the same thing he told
Be
Okay.
fruitful
Noah, the
and
same exact thing.
increase.
My version
Okay.
doesn't have that suggestion.
mine
at
doesn't
all.
say that.
But the common word that I
Huh?
see
Is that
is
the King
fill.
James?
Yes, the King James.
Interesting.
Mine said
'Cause the word
fill
could've
when
meant
it
something
said
different
replenish
at that
there.
Mm-hmm.
When he
Okay.
said replenish, mine said fill. When
Replenish
in
means to
both
fill.
scenarios.
No,
Yeah.
replenish,
Replenish.
means
Replenish.
is to make what used to be there.
No, but it could also mean to refill or to fill.
Well, you
Yeah,
can
but-
refill.
But I'm
to-
saying
to-
or to fill. The RE is new. That's from French. So when I'm saying it
Very
could be
good, very-
linguistic. It could be linguistic.
Okay.
It could be It
Okay.
could be a linguistic situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Phil was the.
Good question though.
Good question.
That was a
Yeah.
good question.
Yeah, but I could be wrong too. So
No.
Really,
no.
you can't get that and then be like, I could be wrong.
There's no.
come on,
I'm gonna accept
Wait,
this,
we're looking
but
at the
I'm
words
gonna be wrong.
here. Please hold.
replenish. That's a French word.
Replenish?
That's only in one version, so don't
Okay.
spend too much
So
time. on it.
we took care of
In
that,
French,
Daniel.
the
Can
word
I
to
look at-
fill
can we
means
ask- Can I talk
means
to you about the
complete.
proverbs?
Of
Yes,
course.
Again,
yes, go
So,
ahead
di-
now.
so can
In
I ask
French,
you a
the
question
word
real
to
quick?
fill
Since we're in
is
that,
complete.
so one of the
That's
things I
where
was
they get the
thinking
word
about
yes.
when I was reading
complete,
this is
which
one
means
of the things
replenish.
we've always
In
been taught
English,
is
it means
that
to
there is
refill.
clean and
But
unclean
in French,
animals
it
and all
means
that kind
to
of stuff,
simply fill.
and the
No,
unclean
the read in
animals.
French
Hold
means
on.
again. I'm looking
Karen
it up
was
right
trying
now.
to.
So there's
That's a
clean and
question.
unclean animals, and they were
Complete
separated because the
is
seven
replenish.
seven clean animals have to be eaten after the flood, and that's been like the theory that a lot of people have.
But
No, it's wrong because
I know.
Exodus came after. But you're right.
No, so there's seven. He brought them in by sevens on the
Right.
clean and
Clean,
unclean the two. And the reason was like, well, you have to have more because you have to have more to eat because there's no vegetation. When at the end of the flood, God said, eat all. So he ate clean and unclean.
Tell
You're right. No, I read it. I
So he
read
ate
the
us,
same
clean
thing.
tell us where it
missed that
says
one.
eat all.
God said it to
It was
me.
right after.
God said-
Show us.
I'll
Show
show
us.
you.
Go to 8.
Because I read
eight or
what it
9.
said, but show it when it says you eat everything and not you have to men. You know.
No,
have to
he
eat
said-
the- Go ahead.
He says you can eat it.
Yeah,
He does.
this
He
one,
says
I
it.
guess.
Go ahead.
Straight up said. I
Then
said.
God bless. So Genesis 9:1 is right after we taught the fear and dread of you will fall on the beasts of the earth and all the birds in the sky and every creature that moves along the ground and on all the fish in the sea. They are given into your hands. Everything that lives and moves about will be food for you.
Boom.
Okay.
And as I gave you the green plants, I give you everything.
I mean, he says that. Now, what happens is that in the Exodus, he's like, well, guys, there's some stuff that you really shouldn't eat.
To who?
No.
To the children of Israel.
No,
Yeah.
no,
That's in
was it
Leviticus.
Exodus?
That's in
It's
Leviticus.
Leviticus.
Well, after the Exodus, he said.
Yeah,
It
after
was
yeah.
Leviticus.
It's in Leviticus.
Yes.
I think
It's
chapter
in
10.
Leviticus.
It is in
Yeah.
Leviticus.
It is not in Exodus.
No,
it's
in
after the
After the
Exodus.
Exodus.
After
It's in
After
Leviticus.
the Exodus, when they go out in the
That's
desert.
what you said.
Leviticus chapter 10, I believe. But now is it
11.
or
Leviticus
11?
11.
No, I'm just thinking that the laws for the food. Yes. Okay.
Yeah,
You're right.
Leviticus.
Leviticus.
It's Levitical.
All right. So regardless, at that point, there's a law he sets up for the children of Israel. He's like, y'all can't eat all this stuff.
But that's just
And-
for them, right?
Now
But
remember,
that's what he was saying. He was just like, you shouldn't do it.
and that's the thing because even when you talk about, because we had this, you, I don't know if you were here or not. When we talk about alcohol, drinking alcohol and so forth, the Bible says, you know, for you, don't drink. For you specifically, he's
Person.
specifically talking to certain people. You don't drink
Right.
it.
He told
But
Samson.
then it says, but for the guy over there who needs to forget his trouble, and he's having a hard time, and he doesn't have hope.
Or has to pay tithe.
Give him give him a drink.
But it says here,
Give
when
him a
he's
drink.
talking, he says,
You know, so
speak
it's
to
more or
the-
less saying he's drowning out something. He's doing, you know, but you,
So
I
alcohol
need
not
you
bad.
clear.
Yeah.
I need you
Israelites,
clear for
but
this
then
and
they
that.
have
So
Canaanites,
so
this one's and this one and this one's.
it's
Talking
not
about people in
sin.
Israel.
It's not
They're not
sinful.
the only people in the earth.
It's
See,
that are-
best
the
practice.
thing, look, and Jesus even said,
But-
like
Go.
the idea of
But
There are a lot of
remember,
best
for
practices.
for you, it's not a best practice, but you can do it. But for me, he says, for you, it is unclean.
You shouldn't do it.
Yes.
But
so
then,
remember,
but then
so,
when
so
he's
for
talking
some
about
people,
food, when he's
you
talking
can't
about food
do it.
offered to idols, he's like, yo, if you have a problem, and this is where Paul starts talking about the same concept. Like,
Yeah.
if you have a problem, if this makes you feel guilty, don't do it. If it makes you feel bad, don't do it.
Or if
it's a
she's
sin to you.
looking at you and she can't get over it, don't do it because you can eat later.
Right,
When she's
right.
not even
That's
looking
the
at
point.
you.
So I think that what even what I was saying in the beginning of this was like, you know, everything he says is Paul says everything's okay, but it's like you shouldn't probably do it just because you know it's not gonna make you go to hell. That should not be the thing that drives us. Like, why it's not gonna make me go to hell? I can do it. That's not the point. The point is, do you want to have a healthier life? Who are you on this earth walking around? What is your purpose?
And there's certain restrictions like when Samson was conceived and being brought up, he had specific guidelines
Yeah, he
for
was
his
a-
life.
He was a Nazarite.
Now,
He was a
now,
Nazarite.
now
Specific though.
and I'm
to
saying
him.
specific because sometimes when we have these discussions, we want a general answer so we all can feel better. But the truth is,
Specific things for
I have
specific
friends who drink,
Mm-hmm.
and they're going to be my friends. But some of us can drink, and some of us should never touch it.
But you
Should
only know
never
you shouldn't
touch
touch
it.
it because you know that you
It should
drank
never
already.
touch it, and that's the thing. So for us to make a general, okay, oh, it's good. See, the Bible said it right there.
But see,
it's
but-
not for everyone. So
but
that's where
the-
relationship comes.
Yeah,
that's when
that's
we
what the
have to
Bible's
have a
about.
relationship. We want to skimp out. We want someone to tell us, it's fine. Go ahead. You know that bacon is good. Go ahead and eat it. But for you, it might be okay.
And, you know,
for me,
but Jesus says that. He says, "Look, you guys are making up laws and stuff. What are you making laws for?" He says, "Have you talked to God?" Like Jesus gets
yes,
upset about
have
that.
a relationship.
Know what
with
Jesus,
God
what
to
God is
know
saying to
what
you.
He wants for
And
you.
this is a question that I had for the group, but I'm sorry, I don't know if you were finished with
Did
your
you get
question.
your question answered?
About the replenish?
Replenish.
Yeah, that was good. That was good.
Alright. So we
I think I forgot my
tangent.
question. man.
Shakira was
It's
next.
not
I was-
a tangent though, but it's
Okay.
Oh, this is it. How do I know?
No, Karen. This is Karen's question.
Oh, my
about
fault.
food.
Go ahead. Oh yeah, this is
Cameron's
good.
kind of was a
Go
You
ahead.
can finish it. It's
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead. You're fine. Go ahead.
I was thinking about the idea of how do I know when God is talking to me? How do I know what God's will is in my life? With marriage, with how I eat, with how I walk around. How do I know that? And the only way to know that, and this is my speculation, and this is my hope, I guess. The only way is if I know God. I like not just know God. Like I pray in the morning. I read my Water for the Thirsty, three chapters, and say, man, this is long. And then I pray. And then I pray and I go to work. That's not it.
No.
That's not it. That's not it. It's more than that, because he says, I will send the Holy Spirit to lead you into all truth. Each one of us as believers is empowered to be a minister. We should not be passive. We can't be
It has
passive
to be about consummation and choice.
And you look at.
Come on, that's what I'm
now you're
talking
taking
about.
high fives. Now you're gonna be like, I didn't.
Oh, so now you're mad. Now you're mad. Come on.
I'm not mad. I mean, that's too high
I
fives.
have a real question though.
Okay, I want to follow up on what he said.
That's a real question.
We change the question. Shanice has been. I mean.
No,
yes,
it's
Shanice has been on the
okay. It's okay. I have someone I can talk to about my outlined Bible verse.
Is your question really to do with what he's asking?
I just want to say, so it's interesting what he said, because I was thinking about the same thing when it was when we were reading in the relationship. You saw the relationship with Abraham and God, and that was ridiculous.
He's
like his
around.
like he was talking to him, right, and he was telling him all the things, like even when he slept with Hagar. Like, he was still, like, having these conversations, like, all right, so you're still going to be the father of many nations.
Even though you're an idiot.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you call him an idiot.
I'm sure he would. Would you call your friend an idiot if your friend messed up? Like, come on, dude, are you serious?
I just don't know if Jesus used idiot.
I know.
But whatever.
He says fool.
So, fool.
He says, don't call your brother.
But so he goes.
No, but he can call us a fool.
Hey, come on, Jesus.
So he goes through. High five. But he goes through, and so you listen to the thing. And even when, and the dynamic gets even greater when he's on his deathbed, and that's when he was like, I don't want my son to have any of these women.
You gotta find
I'm gonna go find him. And then so you saw his faith, because his faith was from like
years and years.
Yeah. So he saw his faith go to his servant, and his servant exhibited the same faith in communication with God when he's looking for Isaac's wife. And it was just I was just very, very impressed. Even to the fact that all these people, dude, all these people that are like 20, 50, 60, 100 were like, yes, Abraham, we'll cut off the ends of our penises for you and your God.
Wow.
That's crazy!
That comes down to my same question. How do you know?
Nuts!
How do you know that's from God? It's like, are you serious, bro? Like, do you understand? Like,
do you know that's never happened in the history of life?
Of human
and now we're just gonna do it?
Because
God told you?
Because God told you. One guy.
Not me.
He didn't tell me that. He told you.
But you didn't question it.
Wow.
You didn't question it.
That's crazy.
But it's reminiscent of the relation. They saw God work in Abraham's life. At that point, they didn't question whether or not Abraham was talking to himself.
It's about sovereignty. Who reigns? Because if God, who reigns? And when in that culture, when you see God blessing someone like Abraham, who's a guy who you knew growing up, you're like, yo, why has this guy got all this stuff? Like he's like, I'm talking to my God every day. I'm like, you see Abraham wandering around talking to himself, you're like, he's either crazy or he's a holy man.
But
one of the two things is real.
When I have my kids, just as stories pass on, you see that man Abraham over there? That's God's people. Don't mess with that.
And then he says, God says snip, snip. We're like, dang, he really said it? Yeah, he told me. All right, because, hey, he's been right every time. Like, we have to look at and see what it is. I think that's a lesson in there for us now. Think about it. Who better to talk to about what the gospel is than someone I've just helped? Mm-hmm. If I help someone in my day, who better to then have a comment? Who wants to listen to me but the person I just gave $25 to buy groceries for her kid?
Oh, that's exactly what I was about
That's the whole idea.
See how that works?
That's the whole idea of what
so
it
you don't
means
have
to
to
be
say
a Christian.
It, right?
If I'm giving you, you're going to accept whatever I give you.
So wait, one person made a comment. It says, Daryl said also, God says that he chose Abraham because he knew he would command his household after him. something for all fathers to take note of.
Wow.
Remember we were talking about submitting to authority?
Mm-hmm.
You started
Sovereignty.
starting to see that picture. The only reason these people did that cutting of the foreskin thing because they submitted to the authority of Abraham, who submitted to the authority of God.
But there, okay.
And you had to really submit to the authority.
I'm about to say, he really had to do
your
it.
penis at 99 years old.
And even Isaac, when you're comparing, when you look at Abraham and you look at Isaac and you compare that to God and Jesus, like the whole thing, Isaac was carrying this wood up, like Jesus was carrying this wood up, and they were both they both submitted. Like he didn't know where we were going. He assumed that this is what it was going on, but he
just followed.
He just followed. He obeyed. His dad was like, "We're going up here. Carry this when we're gonna go." Similar to what Jesus was like. This is
what does Jesus say to us?
Just carry it.
Take up your cross and follow me.
Take this wood. I'm gonna hold this knife in the fire.
Hey.
That was crazy.
That's insane. And hopefully it was a knife in fire and not.
It wasn't. It was like, I'm gonna hold this knife in fire. You take this wood and you carry it up. And then he was like, "Where's the sacrifice, Dad? Abba?"
Well, set the thing up first, son. Set the thing up first, son.
And he was
okay,
like,
how I do it? Just use your imagination. Okay.
But it was prophetic. He was like, God will provide the sacrifice.
Man.
So Isaac didn't have to go through it. Jesus did.
And Jesus didn't have to, yeah.
That's
Jesus was pierced. He wasn't even pierced. Sorry.
Where we at? Because I do have the question from Carolyn, and she
had
that's
never
going
had
to
a
take us a
bone
little
broken.
while.
Okay.
And we got my question too.
Yeah, so we have 3 things. 1, 2, and then we'll come here.
Okay. Proverbs. Proverbs was
He's like, here we go with Proverbs. Nah,
Proverbs was awesome.
Proverbs what?
It was awesome for me with the wealth of knowledge and going back and forth. It was also a little overwhelming.
Proverbs is always overwhelming.
But because when you're trying to get through, Proverbs is one of those that really you can't do the daily reading plan and just like, okay, I finished this one on this day. You have to digest it, and you have to think about it. You have to write it on your mirror, one thing at a time to grow and change. So anyway, this is one of the things about relationship. Like he said,
what chapter are we in?
We're in chapter 6, 1 to 5, and he said, like, you can witness to people who you help. Like if I lend you $25, and so I'm stopping there and I'm going to here. My child, if you co-sign a loan for a friend or guarantee the debt of someone you hardly know, if you have trapped yourself by your agreement and are caught by what you said, quick, get out of it if you possibly can. You have placed yourself at your friend's mercy. Now swallow your pride, go and beg to have your name erased. Don't put it off. Do it now. Don't rest until you do. Save yourself like a deer escaping from a hunter, like a bird fleeing from a net. I was saying that this is one of those things that caught me because if you see a homeless person on the street, you don't lend them money, you just give them money. Mm-hmm. And this one was talking about lending money. It says for a friend or someone you hardly know. So it's saying either one, just anyone, a friend or someone you hardly know. It doesn't say family member per se here, but we can discuss that.
My version says neighbor.
It says neighbor. Okay.
But it doesn't just say lend money. It says put up security for a debt or put up surety.
Yes.
Which means you put your neck out for
your neck, your name, all that stuff for their.
If you put up security is what mine says.
Yes, if you put up security.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
your pledge.
And it says co-sign a loan.
That's essentially what it is.
It says co-sign a loan. So in our day, co-signing a loan.
Okay, and you're putting your house up to bail somebody out. Yep. Yeah. And they don't show up for court.
Or just put your name down. Or just to even put your name on it and say, you know, I'm gonna back this person up. I have their back. Now, in churches, we're encouraged to help one another. There are people who are hurting. There are people who don't have. This is one of those things that helped me see that there is a line to draw on how much you help someone.
But the financial burden should never be. It was never in the early church. It was never on an individual. It was always on the church.
No. We're not talking about that. I'm talking about relationships with one another. I'm not.
You're still talking about helping somebody, though.
Yeah, I'm talking
what
about
that help looks like is what she's.
What I'm saying is, it should not be individual. The financial burdens of people in the church were taken care of by the church. That's my point.
Yeah,
so it should never have been
alone,
individual
we talked
loan.
about that before.
No. That's not always true, because remember, it said when you go, you know, deeper into the Bible, because this is Proverbs. When you go deeper into the Bible, it says people gave up to help other people, so everyone had.
Right.
You understand? And so all I'm doing is I'm showing how, praise God, we do have boundaries, because we do have people who figure because you're a Christian, you're supposed to just do anything for the next Christian. And
the next person.
I'm saying the next Christian. I'm not, because I'm just saying the next Christian. The next Christian or the next
Killing your
person.
testimony.
I'm sorry. You know what?
Your testimony is inappropriate.
No, because
Next.
I'm not going to say anything
very
else.
well.
It needs to look
I
like
do
this.
very
She's speaking
well
to
at giving a
something
prerequisite, like saying a homeless person, you just give them and you're not
Right,
expecting.
right.
So I've already established that this is someone who you know.
Yes.
Right.
A friend.
You know, or someone who knows them. So it might not be Jared. It might be Jared's sister. Okay? And I don't know her, so I hardly know her, but because I know Jared, I'm going to give her a loan. You get it? And so this is one of those things that in youth groups and adults and young adults that should be discussed also, in terms of having boundaries and relationships, and how I love the way Proverbs. So this is not really a question. This is really a statement of discussion. A statement of discussion, in how I love the way God puts in our lives boundaries where we can pay attention and not be taken advantage of.
Can I add to that? And just, can I add to add positively to that?
When he says add, he means take away.
No, I don't.
Go ahead.
I think when you look at from 1 through 5,
Yes.
I think that's speaking to one half of the equation. I think 6 through 11 is speaking to the other half of the equation.
Yes.
Hey,
I
mercy,
was even
Jesus.
about to. I was about to go there, but I was just trying to go on the positive side. I'm coming from being grateful that God is saying to me,
You have an option
you don't have to leak blood, money,
Right.
anything because you're a Christian. Some people look at Christians as fools because we'll do anything for anyone, and it gets us in so much trouble, and we're being laughed at by the world because we're not being savvy with our business practices. And then I had other ones that spoke to the same thing, where you know, you have to be decent and intelligent in your business practices, how you handle your money, how you handle your time, how you handle what you share with other people, to the point that it's not going to strangle you.
Amen.
To be wise as a serpent and harmless as a dove.
That's nice. I like that
This
saying.
week, today, we talked about the truth behind and Luke. All right, Sharika, you're up.
Now I don't know if that's
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
apologize for
See how
being critical.
brief mine are.
Thank you for that.
Luke 9.
Oh. Luke 9.
I'm starting with 29. And I'm going to go to 33. And as he was praying, the appearance of his face was altered, and his clothes became dazzling white. And behold, 2 men were talking to him, Moses and Elijah, who appeared in glory and spoke of his departure, which he was about to accomplish at Jerusalem. Now Peter and those who were with him were heavy with sleep. But when they became fully awake, they saw his glory and the two men who stood with him. And as the men were parting from him, Peter said to Jesus, Master, it is good that we were here. Let us make 3 tents, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah, not knowing what he said. Full stop.
Okay.
So they were taught of Moses and Elijah.
Mm-hmm.
Did Peter see dead men get up and come back to life now over and say, we should make 3 tents? Moses, Elijah, and Jesus. Where did that whole thing come?
I was confused.
They
no.
They said, and he didn't know what he was saying.
Wait.
You didn't say confused.
He is fully awake. They saw the glory. They see the 3 men. They identify them. That is Moses, that is Elijah, and that is Jesus. There's no question about who this is. Because we mentioned that before. Let us make 3 tents. One for Moses, one for Elijah, one for yourself. Not knowing what he said. What does that mean, not knowing what he said?
That's what it's saying. He was
came into a situation and he felt like he needed to say something, and that was the best thing he could come up with.
Oh, I've done that.
You just say something.
Or it could have been he was so that Jesus' face is different. He's dazzled. He's like, we probably should just live here for a while. Like he's just he's like delirious.
But he's not delirious. He's fully awake.
Fully awake does not mean you're not delirious. No. I've seen people who are delirious who are absolutely fully awake.
New Living Translation.
Delirious.
Verse 33. As Moses and Elijah started to leave, Peter, not even knowing what he was saying, blurted out.
Moses and Elijah are there. Peter identified. We
Yes.
are. So he identifies that this is Moses, this is Elijah,
right.
This is Jesus. Are we saying he didn't say let's make the 3 tents? Is that where his confusion came in, or is the fact that this man knows who Moses and Elijah?
Who cares about the tents?
They don't care about the tents. It's not about the tents. It's about the Moses and Elijah piece of this.
Oh, you're saying how does he know this?
How does he know this is Moses and Elijah?
How would you know? Okay.
He saw a picture.
Think about.
I have a picture never dry these days.
Think about this though. Like, there are people in my family who have been described to me that I've never met before, but I swear if I saw them, I would know them from the descriptions, from the vivid descriptions that other family members have given me of them. And think about Moses and Elijah. These are prophets of Israel. These are people who led the people of Israel. Everybody knew who they were. Everybody knew Moses stood this way and he had a stick like this. And when he parted his hair, whatever. Trust me, people talked about that stuff. So it wasn't like...
And angels didn't have beards.
Huh? You disagree?
Do we know what Jesus looked like?
Nobody talked about that.
To this day.
Not that cute.
We don't know if he's Arab, Mediterranean.
Whoa. We're talking about. We're talking about. We can't compare those two things.
Yes, we can.
You know why we can't? No, they're not.
They're
not. What's been passed down? We got this. Look at us in this room. Look at us in this room. Who passed it down? We got it through the Roman Catholic Church, man. Like the stuff we have is not as close to what they had. They literally had like my great-great-grandfather saw Joshua. And you're like, they had that. That was what we're talking about. This is a period of a very short amount of time. We got 2,000 years since Christ was here. This is not over 2,000 years we're talking about this situation taking place.
Okay.
So we're talking about people who've kept a heritage, a genetic identity based on the stories and the tales they've been passed on. It's all mnemonic. It's all by what do you call it? When you keep your memory oral tradition. Everything's an oral tradition. They don't even write stuff down. So the idea of being able to know what David looked like, or what Solomon looked like, or what Samson looked like, they knew that stuff because that was a part of their tradition.
And I'm fine. Okay, so if we want to hold that, if I want to hold that.
Wait, can I add, because that sounds great, but there might be missing pieces.
Mm-hmm.
All this hieroglyphics, all this writing, drawings. We don't know what they had on tablets. We don't know
scrolls.
We don't know if they drew people on scrolls. We don't know. Remember, right now people don't sit down and make the portraits anymore. But back then, they didn't talk about the artists too much. We heard about the fishermen. We heard about the tent makers. Mm-hmm. We didn't hear about the people who made portraits and how they bought and sold them and so on and so forth. And so
the information is available.
They may have in every temple had a picture. So far as we know, we don't know this, and so that is speculation. So for when people say, just like in the fiery furnace, and it looks like the Son of Man. It's like, okay, well, how do they know? You know, how do they know? It's the same thing.
I'm okay with
also,
but I'm okay with.
What's this way? Hold on, I'm confused.
Keep in mind,
What's the same?
She's saying that they saw.
That wasn't my how they know piece of that was first part of my question.
Oh, okay.
Oh, well, then you have to stop commenting on your question as you ask your question.
I told y'all I was good. I was good with the portrait. I was good with this person. I said that, but y'all wanted to give me more, and I gave it to y'all. Let y'all have that. I guess my second part of the question is it normal for the prophets of old to appear like they just?
No. These were alive people.
Moses was Elijah went to heaven.
They were alive.
He never died.
He didn't die.
And then Moses was raised.
I'm cool with that.
That's it.
Is it possible that Moses and Elijah came down before the way the story reads?
I see what you're saying.
I don't think so. I think
Jesus.
Think about, but think about these guys have
They
been.
noticed 3 people here though. Like there's
But keep in mind, this is what I was about to say. Keep in mind verse 33 or verse 32. Peter and the others had fallen asleep. When they woke up, they saw Jesus and the 2 men standing with them. The next line that Luke says is, as the men were starting to leave. It doesn't say that the men were starting to leave as they walked up.
He could have said, this is Moses, this is Elijah.
So they could have walked up. They saw the men talking and walked up there. And just as they were about to leave, it's very possible. The way this is written, it leaves pieces out of the story. So it's entirely possible that they had a chance to listen to the conversation or for Jesus to identify who it was. So that by the time they were ready to leave, Peter's like, I need to say something. And which is the point is Luke that was trying to make.
Well, maybe I'm digging too deep once again. Well, we always say I get lost in the trenches. Jesus, where Moses and Elijah come from? Like
they appear.
They're in heaven.
But you have to understand the point of why they came to talk to Jesus, which is also stated, and I'm not sure if it's stated here or somewhere else. But they talked about they did
about
say
fulfilling God's plan.
There was a reason these 2 guys came from heaven or were sent from heaven to have this conversation with Jesus at this time as he's preparing for his death. So it's not that they just appeared.
I guess, and we can let it go. But for me, I couldn't be with Jesus clearly because stuff like this just blow my mind. Blow my mind, dude. I've never met Moses before. I've never met Elijah before. I understand they didn't die. The story tells me they didn't die. But Jesus, you have just now. I've heard about these prophets from old. Technically, they could be a gazillion years old. They just popped up here, and okay, I'm missing an integral part of this story. That is just
and no one's saying that didn't occur. It's just not in the Bible.
It's not written because.
But I think what you're possibly.
People probably could.
But you're asking if these guys could have actually shown up before. But think about who Jesus is. He's raised people from the dead 3 times. Like at that point, anything is possible. Like you could have like Mother Teresa there. Like, hey, I know who she is too. Like it doesn't matter. All bets are off at this point. Like everything.
She was way down the line.
Exactly my point. This is what I'm saying to you. That's why it was.
I guess it's hard. And I'm gonna get past it. I am, and I'm still new to the Water for the Thirsty group. But it's so hard sometimes. She's been
like 2 years.
She's just trying to remember that she wrote a name on
so
the first.
So many times we'll just be like, we'll answer a question with, well, we just missed a piece of the story.
No, but
there are other times when we be like, no, this is the story.
I'm not doing that.
Somebody's saying something in the chat.
I'm not doing that. I'm trying to answer your question, but
she's trying to answer your question, but we're all talking. Go ahead.
What we're forgetting about Sharika is there were different norms. For us, someone walking up the street with, their hair spiked up, a foot high and pink on it. We look at it and we're like, oh. Back then, they were like, what is this? The norm there was that anything could happen. And certain things excited them that us would be like, what on earth is going on? We can go even further back with a serpent talking to a woman. what are the norms? What surprises
Hold
people or frightens people in their circumstance? Stop.
I'm
Stop.
sorry.
Anything
Their
can happen, and that's the norm.
That's
No,
crazy.
That
talk.
was a norm
Crazy
because
talk.
remember, these were people
It's not a norm, though.
with witchcraft. The woman, when she pulled up a spirit, she was just like, "Wait a minute, this is not my normal medium. This is not my normal
And
spirit."
God said, don't talk to her.
But at
like,
some
she's
point,
crazy.
they even thought
No,
Jesus
she wasn't
was
crazy.
Elijah
She
or
was a
Moses.
witch. She was a
Right.
witch,
Right.
and she called on, and she saw a demon
talking about the
who
witch
was
of
telling
Endor?
her, yes, who was
But
telling
the
her.
no-
But that was a norm.
But the norm
That
was
was not a norm.
for
That was actually
serpent
against
to
God's
talk
will.
to
It was
Eve.
against
Or
God's
for
will, but
Moses and
it was a
Elijah to come
norm.
down
That
and be
was-
having a
Someone wasn't
conversation.
afraid.
That
like,
was new.
Oh no.
There is
It
no
was a-
norms in Eden.
Keep in mind.
It can't be normal for Moses and Elijah just to be come
No,
down.
What I'm
It's not-
saying is
It's not,
it's
normal.
not
But
normal.
what I'm
It's
saying
not
is they
normal.
were surprised. They were ecstatically happy to see this because this wasn't like in our culture where this never happens. People don't just
I understand
you
what
don't
you're
see
saying.
the
I understand
dead.
what you're saying. I
You don't
understand what
see
you're
the
saying.
dead
I understand what
again.
you're saying. I understand what you're saying. I agree.
Here you don't see
Yeah,
the
take
dead
a spot.
again at all.
No,
And
you don't.
so-
You don't.
And so then with
if
Jesus,
you saw,
Gonna miss
you
what you're about
saw
to say.
if you saw a dead person walking, if somebody saw my cousin who died last week, well, you know, I don't have a cousin who died last week, thank God. But if my cousin who died last week is walking around, I'm like, is this a joke?
Yes.
Is this The Walking Dead?
Where-
Did someone make a mask of my cousin's face? Like, this is impossible.
where other
That
people would be
never
like,
happens.
other people would be like, who did that?
Like, who's
Jesus
the guy who
did
did that? Yeah.
Wow.
But what I'm saying is,
They'll
in
do
that
that here.
time,
Yes.
I
Let's
think
not
it
miss
was
the
just
point.
as mystical.
I like what Daryl said. Let's not miss the point. This section starts with about 8 days later, which means the point of this story is connected to what happened just before it. And Jesus was talking about his death and what he was about to suffer, and the Son of Man coming in his glory, and whatnot.
And then they got to see that.
And then Luke, who's telling Theophilus the story, is now saying, after Jesus spoke about this, about 8 days later, they got to see a glimpse of what Jesus was referring to
She's not even here.
when Moses and Elijah came.
No,
down.
but the relevant
But
part.
that's what I'm saying. Let's not get lost in whether Moses and Elijah came. They were significant.
No.
I don't
we
think
weren't
that.
saying
We're not
that.
even arguing
We were
that.
saying
We're not even
that-
arguing
We
that.
were saying
Well, not
that
you
that's-
guys.
Yeah, but
Her question.
so what do they represent?
Or what was their purpose for coming? I think the word it clarifies it for himself. Verse 31. They spoke about his departure, which he was about to bring to the fulfillment of Jerusalem. How did Peter or even Luke know what they were talking about if they didn't walk up and be a part of the conversation? So that's how they knew who it was. When they saw these guys, Jesus was looking funny. These two guys were standing there and they walk up. They get to hear what the conversation is because they know what it was about. It says in verse 31. And then that's probably where they found out who it was. And then Peter, not knowing what to say, just said something stupid.
I mean, think about what else happens in the verse, man.
Stupid,
Well,
what he
okay,
said.
it wasn't
What he was
stupid.
saying. What
It
he
was
was saying.
random.
No. What he was saying. What he was saying was, let's build you a shrine because it's not just a tent; it's a shrine. And what do people do? They dwell in shrines.
Worship.
This right here is about to happen. Oh no! This has just happened. This is amazing. We want to hold on to this. So if we build you 3 here, then you can stay with us for a while.
And suppose
we
Jesus
can
is going to
talk,
now be
and
the
we can
king
enjoy this time
because he's
But
got
then-
the strength of
but
Elijah
then
and all this Moses
God
power. and
clarifies it's like no, you're bugging out. Jesus, this is my son.
But see-
This is who you're supposed to be worshiping. This is who you're supposed to be focusing on, not the other 2 guys.
But
You're
it's
missing
still,
the point.
it goes back to their lack of understanding of his mission. They
Yes,
didn't even get
true.
it because
Very
they were like,
true.
"Yo, his kingdom's about to be here. Moses is here. Like, we're gonna kill all the Romans. This is great. He can part the sea, and the other guy can put his hand on the." I mean, think about all the power in those 2 men. Like for real. Like for those Hebrews, they're like these guys like led our people through serious times, man. These are war leaders in these nations. These are like the elder statesmen of our people. Heck yeah, they're here. Let's do it. Like Peter's like, yo, we can just hang out here with these guys, man. And then we go down, when y'all ready, we go down and we take the whole thing over.
See?
And he was completely off, and God was like, really?
He's like, no, that's not.
That's not the
this
point.
is about to get ugly, not cute. Yeah.
I mean, that kid, imagine.
So, question. In the representation of Moses and Elijah, I think probably one of the pastors gave me this explanation. In Jesus' second coming, Moses represents the dead in Christ that rise, and Elijah represents those who are alive that's caught up in the air.
Sister White.
Oh, Ellen White, okay.
Love it. Love it.
I mean, there's another perspective here. It says basically God sent Moses and Elijah to talk to Jesus concerning his suffering and death. Instead of choosing angels to converse with his son, God chose those who had themselves experienced trials on the earth. Another perspective.
I need to go on and think about it. I don't have a problem with who came down. I really don't.
Why?
I really don't. I'm thinking about from the human perspective. And this could be a part of the story I'm missing. Peter, James, John, either y'all see beings come out the sky before, or we're missing a big part of the story.
Think about it. This is 3 years after Jesus had
Big
what?
part of the
Jesus
story or
walked
a
on.
significant part?
No,
of the story?
Jesus walked on water. No. What I'm saying is Jesus is the variable here. Like Jesus is the thing that everything hinges on. When they're with him, people are getting out of the ground. When they're with him, they walk on water. Hey, Moses, Elijah, cool. Let's have a party. Let's hang out. Like this is just par for the course in their head. These are the same two guys who were just like, yo, Jesus, when you come in your kingdom, can we turn your left and the right? Like they still didn't get it. And he was mad. He was like, are y'all serious? You really didn't get it yet. And so when you look at that story with these two guys saying, or these three, Peter saying, let's build a shrine, let's hang out. Like that goes along with the narrative in their head. That Jesus has been like, that's not the narrative. They're like, yeah, whatever. It is a narrative because you're the king of the Jews. This is what all the prophets have told about. We're going to come out, and that they've been taught that in Hebrew school their whole lives. And they hear that in the synagogue every Sabbath. The king's going to come and he's going to change our situation. And so everything is from that place.
I don't see this as being too irregular for them, considering that lame people were walking, people
That's
with
what I'm
leprosy were being healed, people were being raised from the dead.
He's casting demons.
All this would just be another one of the many strange things that happens when you hang out with Jesus.
Right.
You know?
Miraculous.
At this point.
Miraculous. Nice
Strange.
surprise.
you-
Miraculous,
are you
not
done?
strange.
Go
Can
ahead.
I ask a
Kevin.
question?
Go ahead.
It's a totally different verse, though.
That's all right.
That's cool. Could y'all turn to Luke 16, please? For the favor.
Did that answer your question?
No.
No, she was making.
Oh, your question didn't get answered? Your questions
Nah.
never get answered.
I had that one highlight. Look, I had
What was
that
it? What was
highlight.
it? Luke 16.
Luke 16.
Kenrick.
Which one? How you know which I haven't said? It's the wrong one. I don't even know.
It's
which
probably
one.
the right one.
It probably is the right one. Which one is it?
Just go ahead.
What's the verse, Shonice?
Just go ahead. I have 8
Yeah.
and 9.
Huh?
I have 8 and 9.
Yeah. That's mine.
See?
Oh.
High five.
We should get
Air high five.
We're not gonna get married. The master commended. The master commended this. You can't even say married anymore because it carries a whole different context. It was
Just go ahead. Just go ahead. Just go ahead.
totally different context now. I will never attend another wedding. The master commended the dishonest manager because he acted shrewdly. For the people of this world are more shrewd in dealing with their own kind than they are the people of light. And this is where I kind of got...
Then they are the people of light? Is that what the translation says?
Then are the people of light, of the light.
Okay.
That makes sense? You're
Yeah,
good?
That's what I had connected.
that's what makes sense.
That's what I had connected to my other one with the not lending people money.
I wasn't
and
finished.
So
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed
Can't
it.
live this life.
Go ahead, Kevin.
I
Go
just
ahead.
scared.
I tell you, use worldly wealth to gain friends for yourselves, so that when it is gone, you will be welcomed into eternal dwellings.
Okay.
I don't understand that.
Okay. Can I read my version, please? Because
Yes.
it helps out a lot, and it's awesome. Okay. The rich man had to admire the dishonest rascal for being so shrewd. It is true that citizens of this world are more shrewd than the godly are.
Mm-hmm.
I tell you, use your worldly resources to benefit others and make friends. In this way, your generosity stores up a reward for you in heaven. Now, what
That ain't the same
That
thing that the red here.
Well, no, it is.
It doesn't make
just
sense.
doesn't
It makes
make
less
sense.
sense.
Let me tell you. Okay.
Go ahead.
Because this is part of my whole being a good business person.
What you saying?
This one is saying.
Pretty much the same thing. Hey.
Some people are just shrewd for their own gain. I want you to be so keen in your business mindedness that you use whatever is at your disposal.
True for Jesus.
Whatever is at your disposal. Okay, I'll give you an example. Okay, I won't give that example.
No, give the example because that's good.
Okay.
See what I'm saying?
My dad's profession later on was a drug dealer. So I utilized, he was still my dad, so if he gave me money, it came from where?
The streets.
Hustling.
Yes.
His
I
job.
used it to help pay for school, right? Or pay for bills. Now some people say, you know what? I can't use anything. I can't deal with you at all because that's not the right way. It's saying use whatever's at your disposal to gain friends, to gain what you need to gain for the kingdom. Use it the right way though. So I don't take this money and say, you know what, this is a good living. Let me sell drugs. Let me buy drugs and sell drugs and so. No, let me use my resources. Let me use these resources to benefit others and make friends. Now we're making friends and benefiting others for who? For Jesus.
So Jesus sanctioned.
No, we gotta look at the whole context.
No, when you read the whole thing.
Nah, the context
when you
is
read the whole thing.
He's washing money.
No, when you read the whole thing is you're more or less fired. You don't have a job anymore. Now what you gonna do? But he's still sending you out to do stuff. It's like, really? Are you really? Okay, then I'm going to do it the way I need to do it.
Okay. That's not. He didn't send them out. He went out and was like, I'm not going to have a job. The best way I could do this
rich man hired a manager to handle his affairs. That's the first. I read it too.
Nah, he said this isn't. If you want to look at the KJV, it's a certain rich man which had a steward. It doesn't say he hired him to do anything.
So what is a steward?
No. What I'm saying is
what that implies is that he hired him for that specific moment. What I'm saying is that this guy was this has been a servant for years.
I'm agreeing with that. Okay. We're not in disagreement. What I'm saying is this is his employee. This is his employee. Things didn't work out too well, and he's still like, yeah, now you still need to wrap things up. So what he does is, one of us will be like, I don't have to do anything for you. You just fired me. Many of us will be like, if I'm fired, you go wrap up your own stuff.
No, what?
But
no.
if you have me, but if I'm
trying to make sure you didn't have to beg.
He didn't have to. He wasn't doing this to the master. He was doing it for himself.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
I know. Why are we disagreeing when I didn't even finish my statement?
Because you keep saying the wrong thing.
No, you can't tell me I'm wrong. A third of my statement.
You can't put good money after bad money. That's what we're talking about. I'm saying he didn't tell him to go out and wrap up my stuff.
He didn't say it.
He was like, this guy isn't cutting it. He's selfish, da-da-da. And the guy was like, I'm not strong enough to dig. I'm not this. What am I going to do? And then he went with under his own
and finished his job.
And finished and
no, he didn't finish his job.
He just went back and was like, yo, so you owe my master $800. All right, give me $450. You owe my master
and then your debt's
$200. Then your debt's cleared. And you owe my master that. Give me $600. And so now, not only is he getting the money, but he's also in good graces with the guy, which gives with the people. So if they ever need anything, they're gonna be like, "Yo, that dude hooked me up. He took care of me." Which means, and that's the whole shrewd part. The problem is, that's shady. That's not shrewdy.
Yeah, but keep in mind what the point Jesus was trying to make.
Jesus making a different point.
And that's my point. I'm trying to understand what the point is, because this right here doesn't sound like any Christian point.
This right here.
This thing right here.
This point right here.
This right here.
Well, here's a message.
Clearly,
It says, now here's a surprise. The master praised the crooked manager. And why? Because he knew how to look after himself. Streetwise people are, this is message version again. The streetwise people are smart in their regard than law-abiding citizens. They are on constant alert, looking for angels, surviving by their wits. I want you to be smart in the same way, but for what is right, using every adversity to stimulate.
I understand that's what you're saying, but that's the message. Survival. Like, that's someone's interpretation of it. That's not that might not necessarily be what this is saying.
No, that's what our Bibles are saying. You have to. That's why you have us here, Kenrick, to help you to interpret it properly. Because on your own volition, you're having issues.
I think what
was that again?
Jesus is using Shoney's.
Can I try to shed some light on the whole passage? I think Jesus is saying in this passage, I think he's saying, look, the idea is whatever you have, be wise with it.
Yes.
It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if it's unrighteous mammon. It doesn't matter if it's whatever. Because he says, look, if he's faithful in that which is least, is faithful also much. Yes. Whatever you do your best. Be smart about it. I'm not telling you to be shady, but be smart about it. And then he says, look.
Use a shady example.
He used an example that everybody would understand.
Just to show you that other people are using their brains for the wrong thing. Use your brain for the right thing to get what I need from you. That's the point.
It's like couching your argument in the negative already.
Because it's a wow factor too. Oh wow. You know, it got people's attention. You're not going to go see a boring movie and then learn from it. You're not going to go see it. Someone presents a movie to you and then you're like, wow, that's good. And then at the end it says, okay, see, they were smart. They were wrong. You can be smart as them, but be right.
What does he say in 13? No servant can serve two masters, for either will hate the one and love the other. He's like, look, in spite of what I just said, let me clarify for you so some of you don't leave here and start cheating people because you're going to tell me, you're going to say that, oh, Jesus told me to do it. I'm not telling you to do that. You're going to serve God or money. You can't serve them both. So he negates any of the confusion or the vagary of that whole conversation with that last comment. That's a really powerful, because when you look at that, it puts everything else in the context of him saying, this is a counterexample to what I'm giving you. This is not the example for you to follow. Yeah. This is a counterexample of me pointing out a specific facet of this guy's character that is a character trait that this guy has exhibited that I want you to exhibit. Whatever you do, do it with the best you can. Because even him being shady, his master was like, I might even want to fire this guy. Now he's smart. He's smarter than I thought. All right, you keep your job. I mean, hey.
Whatever.
That doesn't make sense.
It makes sense. I don't disagree with you.
When it's 9,
but I'm just like,
you disagree.
Okay, here's the truth. Here's the truth. Let's use a modern day. Some of us watch movies for entertainment, right? We watch movies. we watch snippets, because they're entertaining for us, not because they're correct or they're right or they're righteous or they're holy. We watch it for entertainment. But then we look at something, we look at what was laughed at or what was joked about or what was pushed and we say, wow, in my life, I'm not going to do that. Or in my life, I'm going to do this way. Even though you're not meant to go and see it because it's thought-provoking.
No. You know what sounds suspect?
Thought-provoking.
8, 9 sounded suspect.
That's what I'm saying.
I think
he gave you a very.
You can only use suspect to define suspect.
All right.
No, you can't use it.
I'm done. Go ahead.
I'm so abused.
Now, I know we only have a few minutes, and I would like to get your summaries, but I promised Miss Carolyn that we could ask this question.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
And it's a big question.
So Sheena said it.
And I did a lot of research on that question.
Okay, so you got it.
I ain't say all that though. I said I did research.
So maybe we should, since Vanessa's gonna give us the thing, should we go around and take our takeaways for tonight and close off and then just kind of hash the question out?
No, do the question.
That's a question.
We already closed out everything.
We all had something to say.
We just shut down. We just batteries right now.
So the question came from Genesis 11. Genesis 11:5. Where God came down to see the city. The question was, why did he have to come down to see the temple? Which made me think about Genesis 3:8, which is where God came around in the cool of the day. So the question is God walking about the earth now? We know that the devil is moving around like a roaring lion, but I don't know of any other scripture speaking about God moving about as this does to you. So the question is, why? Three questions, but they're all the same, really. Why did God come down, and does he move around the earth now?
Where's that from? Genesis what?
Genesis
well, I guess the first thing is that are
3:8.
all of the translations saying the same thing? I've came down. Everybody says came down.
Genesis 11:5.
Yeah. Came down. KJV came down.
All right, so
I'll just go through.
It just came down then.
Came down. Yeah.
While you guys are looking, there are other points in the Bible where it says, like when the angels, it says angels came to see Abraham or Abram, right? And then it said the Lord said. So do we say that's the angels? That those were angels, or that one of the men was God?
About Lot? You're talking about with Lot?
No. I'm saying with
Abraham when they came
with
to
Sarah, and then Sarah laughed. And
I've heard it said that when they talk about the angel of the Lord, is Jesus pre-incarnate.
And my thing is, and I don't want to wrap this up because there are lots of answers. There's different places in the Bible. We see God different places. We see Jesus in different places. Like I remember one of my favorite stories was, my favorite sad stories was Stephen. And as he's being murdered, he looks up and heaven is revealed to him. And he sees Jesus in heaven. Not Jesus standing there with him, but in heaven, standing up. And then you see other places where if someone says Jesus is in heaven because they saw visions or Jesus sitting down. And so God can go wherever he wants, and he chooses to take form or expand form. And because we can't do that, it's hard for us to understand it. So every so often we'll hear, oh, is that God walking? And then other times God's not walking and sitting next to us, but we feel him. He sees us and knows everything.
Pump the brakes. Adding to that confusion, because I like that made sense to me. But then as I'm reading along, it doesn't make sense to me in the context of our conversation. He came down, and then it says, the Lord came down into the sea. The Lord said, behold, come, in verse 7, let us go down there and confuse the language. Wasn't he already there? That's what it said. He came down.
No, he saw, but he wasn't down there.
This is the same thing.
It
says this is after he said he came down. This is after that. He says that in verse 5. And then in the next verse in 7, he says, come, let us go down there and confuse their language.
But you have to keep in mind how Moses writes. He writes and he says it and then he says it again. So it's not that it didn't happen. It's almost like Genesis 1 and 2. He made man, he made them, and then he goes over and starts over the story again and gives it again. And Moses does that kind of back and forth thing. So I wouldn't necessarily put too much stock.
It's reiteration of what he's saying.
I don't. That one doesn't. But he stuttered. Yeah, he did. But I'm saying, like, I feel like that's coming back to the it's not a satisfactory answer. Okay. So just let the Lord handle it. Like, we had.
That's not what I was saying.
No, I know that's not what you're saying.
There you go.
Bada boom, bam. All right. So Jared mentioned this before. I think Pastor Cousins mentioned it. The translation of the word Lord, and how we, in English, have bottled up the word Lord to mean 15 million different things in Hebrew when it's translated.
We're talking about
with the Yahweh
Lord
we
God.
talked about.
Lord Yahweh, Elohim.
Jah.
Everybody is Lord in English here, and he's saying, let us go down there," type of thing. It could have been
Trinity.
The Trinity having a conversation. They said, "Let us make man in our own image," or when I don't know which God came down to talk to Moses. It's come down before. There have been other examples of the Father coming down and speaking to the people, or looking at the people. And for me, what this said was more of the intimate nature of God and some of the bigger issues that were happening on earth. He came down in the big situations, talking to Adam and Eve, showing the relationship. Moses, hey, I'm going to give you some laws. And here, Tower of Babel, hey, what are you guys doing down there? This is ridiculous. I'm going down there to kind of see it myself, not see it myself, because I'm omnipresent. I get that. But for Moses to make it real, he's using human terms to say come down. At least that's how I figured it out. Then I said the second part of the question is whether or not God is roaming the earth now. When I think of God, at least the Father, and back then Jesus, they were all omnipresent. So there was no need to roam. The word to roam is to go back and forth to watch a territory because I can't see it all at one time. So no, he's not roaming the earth. They don't need to do that. So that's not what they do. But the Spirit of God moves amongst the earth. So I would say that we should separate the two. They're able to get everywhere at once, all the time, at least. Well, now God the Father, not Jesus, because he's probably not omnipresent anymore, but that's besides the point. At the end of the day, it's not a Rome, because in those days, they were omnipresent. There was no need to roam. Satan himself cannot be everywhere at once.
Right, I was going to say, it teaches us about the nature of Satan, the fact that he is confined to some type of form in a sense that he can't spread himself everywhere at one time, and he can't even get into our brains. Like, he's confined to a specific either dimension or realm or physiological shape or something, but that Joker isn't as powerful as we give him credit for sometimes. He's more powerful than we give him credit for many times, but he's not as powerful as we do. He's not omnipresent.
I didn't think we would get this wrapped so quickly. I thank you for that, Sharika.
Yeah.
You hit that one.
Knocked it out the park.
I tried that one.
For six. Hey, for six.
It took me 3 days.
So let's do this. We're going to start with Kendrick and come around to Randy. Closing thoughts, takeaways from today.
I don't have one.
We'll start with Randy and come back the next week then. Takeaways from today. What do you leave with after we spend all this
Yes,
hours
me?
talking here? Starting with you and going around the next week.
Okay. Dang, I was waiting for everybody else's.
I don't have anything. So
You don't have it? Yeah, okay. I have.
My brief takeaway from today is that whatever God institutes, that's the standard. That when we look at culture, when we look at how we change things, that's not the standard. And when we want to build a relationship with God, we have to make sure that our relationship with Him is based on how He wants it to be, not the way our culture dictates it.
I need to talk to God about me getting lost in the weeds. My analytical brain loves the detail, and I think when I love the detail, I forget the whole chapter. And now I don't want to read anymore. So, Father, we need to talk about that. Before I read the Bible, to really introduce a prayer that says, help me get the bigger picture. And if there are weeds I'm supposed to get lost in, let me get lost in them. But if not, if it's just going to weaken my faith, tell me to skip the chapter or something, because I just can't do it anymore. That's what I got. He probably not going to tell me to skip the chapter. He probably going to tell me to ask one of y'all. It's going to upset me. But I get it. It's okay. It's cool.
I want to pause here because I know that there are a lot of people who do go into the word and they're not, they don't understand what the author is trying to say, and so they missed a lot of it. Like, I was going to ask, what was the connection between, in the verse that you brought, Kendrick? I was going to ask, was it connection between if you're faithful in little, faithful in much, and why you had to bring divorce in at the end of that, all of that? How is all of that related? And, and it's going in trying to figure out, okay, what's the point here, and why are these details given, and why they're not? I think it helps me to think of movies where, they give you the story, and then you can edit out parts of the story, and you'll still get the movie. Like, what's the name of that movie? Hancock? The one with the superhero? I saw the full version of that, and it made more sense when I saw the edited version, but it didn't take away anything from the story when they cut all those pieces. When they watched other movies, Lord of the Rings, same thing. The extended version was way better, and it was like, that's why the guys were running around. But you can chop that out, and the story will still make sense. You can still get the story, and that's my understanding of what's happening in the Bible. The guys are trying to make a point, and so they give you details of the story that are relevant to the point. And if you try to ask about too much, then you miss the point. And I want to encourage not just us, but those who are listening, that to really try to figure out what is the point, and then use those details in regards to that, which would bring me to Hugh's question, which we'll talk about after. But
There's an afterglow?
No. As we're leaving, as we're having pizza,
That's what I call it.
Pizza? You woke me up.
He said, hey, I was about to pass out.
Well, let's wrap this thing.
Mercy.
Read the fine print.
Let's go.
Yeah, so I think it's obvious, as we discussion went on, that clearly there's nothing new under the sun, because again, culture influence how we look at wife, and even concubine name changed to something new in 2015.
Side chicks.
Jump
you know,
Side
right?
chicks, man.
So
Side chicks.
right, so
The jump.
you know, so all these as we continue digging through, we realize that we're gonna see these things happen over and over and over again. And as you pointed out, I think you summarized it pretty well, Jared, in terms of, you know, these are just things for us to get the idea and they dig in the weeds, get the whole point of what's happening in the story, the main points, and then you decide, all right, let me dissect and do some extra research, just you know, to appease my curiosity. So I think it's just more for me studying the word and again focusing on those key things, because now I, you know, Senator was like, yo, I read this thing before, but now I'm looking at little things. The one I sent to you about what was it, Jared? I can't remember.
Proverbs. I mean, the adultery of the woman.
No. But why did he call knowledge
a woman
mm-hmm. versus anything else? I was like, I've already seen it 100 times, but never really paid attention to that. So, you know, not getting too much in the weeds initially, and then you go back and then you look at these key things and try to cross-reference and see, is there a point to why this is listed, or it's just, as you said, an extended version of the movie that cuts out just to get a point and then put it back in.
There's a point.
So.
There's a point to that.
Daniel.
I think there's two major themes that stand out to me. It's truth and obedience. And I want to say, for Sharika, I'm similar in reference to wanting to know the fine details, and in some of the chapters in some of the books of the Bible, it feel like we're getting the edited version. Like something was cut out. Why I'm not getting this? If you look at like the book of Jude, it's like the text is wanting something more, and I need to find it in order to see the big picture, where as opposed to other people, they can just step back and see the bigger picture without having to get all the fine details. And I think a quote, I don't remember where I get the quote from, but I think a quote speaks to this. And it says, you'll only get as much truth as you'll obey. At the point you compromise and no longer obey, you don't need any more truth. You'll be ever learning, but not able to come to a knowledge of the truth. So I think we need to submit and obey in order to come to a full understanding of the truth.
Yeah, wow.
I'm gonna need to get books like Dan. You pull out another notebook. You know, they like 4
That was
notebooks
his
over there.
quote.
He got like 4 notebooks over there. He's like, you know, I got one.
He wrote that. He wrote that yesterday morning. After his job, he went and worked out. He went and worked out. Got a lot of blood.
What's your clothes? What's your clothes?
I'm just saying. I need to live.
Oh, me. I had something now. I forgot it because I was making jokes. I think that. You don't talk to me about focus. You all know I have ADD.
It's a stroke.
Hey, all of it together. I think that the thing that has been impressing me, the more and more I read about Jesus, is his consistency. Like he's consistent. He doesn't change. Everything else around him changes, but he doesn't change. And sometimes you may, like, in my mind, I'm thinking, and there may be things that I don't understand, but he still. So I've got to trust that. Like I don't get it. I don't get the language. I don't get the. And I'm just talking about in my mind. I like to read the Bible because I think I'm always looking for the thing, for the little thing that's going to be like that's going to pique my interest. You know, a couple of weeks ago it was like he raised everybody from the dead. Like, why did he do that? He did that, and this one chapter talks about like him raising 2 people from the dead. That's crazy, man. Why would he do that? Like, what was the point? So I'm thinking. I'm like, he has a power, and it said he spoke. Oh, power of life and death is in the tongue. Hey, he's talking about this stuff. This other guy. So for me, that's what I like. But when I think about him, he's consistent. He never changes. He's consistent, and as much as we like to see him as this example of the angry God, he's not that guy. He's not that guy. Throughout the New Testament, Jesus is never that guy. But we consistently think of him that way. And there's a reason we think of him that way, because that's what we're programmed to think of him that way. But when you look at him, he's consistently like, look, don't slap the guy back if he punch you in the face. Don't hit him back. Like, this makes no sense. Jesus, what is this, Zen? He's like, yeah. You know, it's not anything you've heard before. I'm telling you something different. I'm fulfilling this whole thing for you. So it comes back to him being so consistent. seek and just, if I really want to know what this Christian thing is about, if I really want to understand Christianity, I have got to be in his presence. Like, I've got to put myself in the presence of Christ, in the words of Christ. I've got to read the words of Christ. I've got to devour them. I've got to put them in my soul. Because trust me, I remember the lyrics to Ghetto Boys song, like from way back in the day, and I'm struggling to remember a text. That's ridiculous. Like, am I really putting myself into this? So it's like, he's consistent. Am I consistent? Because he's not going to change. He's going to be there. If I don't understand him today, how close was I with him today?
Can we get one more chance? I'm sorry. Oh, my takeaway actually came from Luke 16, and even though we didn't actually land the plane on my question, this kind of gives me a little bit of peace going forward. Luke 16, the end of verse 15. What the world honors is detestable in the sight of God. You know, part of the reason that question about the wife thing messed with me is because it seemed to put more sacredness on the consummation thing, and gave it a whole lot more significance than we currently give it. And with this idea in mind of what the world honors as detestable in the sight of God, makes me then wonder, so how does God feel about this? Which is why I asked the question, because I wanted to try and figure out, from the Bible, what did the people understand that God felt about this? And while I do believe we probably need to go back to the beginning and see what his intention was, the point was trying to figure out how does God feel about this? What does he think about this? How does he view it? And then use that as our standard to decide what we're going to do from what we're not going to do. And so that's my takeaway. Trying to figure out as we read this word, what's his view on it? I know what we think. I know what our culture says. I know what that culture thinks. But what actually does he feel? And how does the word present his mindset on it? And then allow that to guide my choices and actions and decisions. So that was my takeaway.
Sure.
With that being said, since Kenrick didn't have a takeaway, I'm going to ask him to pray to close us out. And then we'll be done.
All right, let's bow our heads. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity to come before you again. We thank you for the opportunity to kind of flesh some things out. We ask you to please help us as we move into a new week, Lord. May we devote ourselves to more time in the Word and more time to you. All of our time to you. A lot of our time. So that we're ever growing. And constantly renewing our relationship with you. Be with each person represented here, the families. We ask you to please grant us traveling mercy as we leave, and bring us back in a couple weeks. All these things we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Episode 12 is in 2 weeks. It's going to be the first Friday in February, which I think is February 6th. Join us until then. Continue to follow the reading plan with us. So you can be a part of the conversation. Continue to drink up. And we hope to see you then. Oh, and if you have thoughts, ideas, questions, share them with us. We'd love to continue the conversation in the week online on Facebook, Instagram. Well, I don't know much conversation you have with Instagram. But, hit us up. Let us know what you think.
Take a picture of your thoughts.
Take a picture of what you're reading. Take a picture of anything,
Hashina said that that's truly the right prayer, Sharika.
Oh, praise the Lord.
Yay.
Praise the Lord.
What's that? And what's truly
her prayer, what she said about her prayer.
Alright, well, we're out. Vanessa's going to cut the camera and we're just going to continue doing whatever we do.
My prayer when I was saying,
what was your one that you had?
I gotta
that
stay out of the
end of
weeds.
verse 15.
Oh, in
Let me get